before the start of the Michigan 500, delayed, but it still expects to be a very exciting race here today. As the drivers prepare to climb in their cars, Gordon Johncock, the defending champion, is ready. Let's go down to Bruce Jenner.
Well, Gordon Johncock just got in his car just a second ago, and I asked him, and being the defending champion, and just a few minutes ago we had to see that great victory that he had just a year ago, and I asked him, it's a new year, but has this rain and the delay dampened his enthusiasm at all? And he said, absolutely no. As soon as he straps himself in the car like he's doing right now, he's ready to race. He's a real racer. Let's go back up to Paul.
Well, the umbrellas that earlier in the day were used to keep the rain off are now being used to keep the sun off. Bobby Unser, you've got 24 strong races on this course, and this weather changes the strategy. We were expecting a hot day. Now it's cool, and the course has been washed with water.
Well, yes, Paul. There's three really things that are important today now. Quite different from what we talked about earlier. Number one, it's a lot cooler than it was. Number two, it's just a whole heck of a lot windier than it was. Of course, the wind could subside and go away. Number three, there's at least 80% of the rubber been washed off the track. Now, this is really going to cause the cars to handle differently early in the race compared to what they're going to handle later on. But the good part about that is the cars have all been adjusted with all the rubber on the racetrack. So the people didn't change them. They just are not going to be as good early in the race, some of them now, as they could have been.
Does anybody pick up an advantage?
Nobody should pick up an advantage, but another thing that'll change a little bit is that the cars, the drivers and the cars can run a little bit harder than we had talked about earlier today when it was so hot and muggy. So the engine should last longer. The drivers will definitely be in better shape. So I think we'll see a little bit faster race than we would have seen this morning.
The racetrack will be faster.
The racetrack will very definitely be faster. There's no question about it. The engines are going to have more horsepower. The tires are going to stick to the ground better, to the asphalt, and it's just going to be a little bit faster track. And the crews have already been talking about possibly using their cars a little bit harder than they planned on using, considering it's a 500-mile race.
All the guys that built the cool suits and all the special equipment, they can forget about that now.
It won't be as necessary as the last time we talked, I promise you. I wouldn't even dream of using a cool suit or a cool hat today.
Now let's check back on the pit road as the drivers are in their final moments of preparation. Here is Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, everything in readiness here at the head of the line. It's amazing how the tension level has escalated dramatically in the last few minutes. These thousands of race fans are ready. The driver's impatient now, chomping at the bit almost. We understand that we're exactly now 1 minute away from the command to start engines. They had about 6 or 8 drivers at the back of the pack that were in the final stages of buckling down. So now the countdown has begun in earnest. Thomas Monahan from Domino's Pizza will be giving the command to start the machines in less than 60 seconds, Paul.
Well, Gary, it's been a frustrating afternoon for all of us. We expected just a perfectly clear day. It was a perfectly clear week. The qualifications went without a hitch. No rain, hot sun. We expected sun today, and then the rainstorms came. Well, now we believe that's beyond us, and we're hoping to get in 500 miles here at Michigan International this afternoon. So the seconds tick away. The pulses quicken up just a little bit. The drivers, this is the moment in which they are alone with their thoughts. They look over the car. They look over the equipment. The crews stand by for anything they might need. But it counts down, and the stillness begins to blanket over the grandstands. The crowd is ready. The drivers are ready. The crews are ready. And we go down to the start line for that most famous command in all of motor racing.
Of Domino's Pizza, Mr. Tom Monahan, to say those magic words.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
So now we are ready. The engines are started on the main stretch here at Michigan International. We look up and down the line to see if all engines are started successfully. 33 cars, 33 of the fastest cars and drivers in the world. As they are ready to go, all engines are started. Good reports all up and down the 11 rows of 3. Crews ready. There sits Bobby Rahal. in his Red Roof Inn Special. He's ready to go. He was the last man to win a race here at Michigan. The front row now acknowledges the roll of the pace car, and they begin to roll away. The safety cars heading off the line. As the field is pulling away in Michigan, all cars rolling and started. We're ready for a beautiful race here. As we have 3 laps now to the green flag, we'll be back.
Put your head on my shoulder, hold me in your arms, baby.
These beautiful moments were made possible by Head & Shoulders, the shampoo for the 2 of you.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Scope presents The Way It Was.
Mom, mouthwash tastes like medicine.
If it didn't, it wouldn't work.
Henry believed it. Today, he still does.
Henry, try Minty Scope. Tastes good.
Then it doesn't work.
Scope works. Don't let the good taste fool you. Try. For me?
Minty.
Fresh breath that lasts. And you did it all for me.
Scope works. Don't let the good taste fool you.
Create a car to conquer the wind. A car that lets you slip off the commonplace and experience driving excitement as never before. The Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Sit here and learn firsthand how Firebird conquers the wind and the world. Pontiac, we build excitement.
Undefeated veteran Nino LaRocca takes on hard-hitting Pistol Pete Renzani in a welterweight brawl. Plus, the men's champion will be crowned as our Survival of the Fittest competition concludes with a survival run only on NBC Sports World.
Well, we're back and live, and you're looking over the right-hand shoulder of Howdy Holmes in his car number 30, the Domino's Pizza Hot One. Let's take a look as the field on the warm-up laps. Take a look at the grid for this running of the Michigan 500.
And on the inside of row 1 is Teo Fabi, definitely one of the finest rookies we've had in many a year. 3 times on the pole this year, including the Indianapolis 500. In the center, Don Whittington. This man put 3 years of marches together to make this car. One of the best chassis men we have on the Indycar circuit. On the outside, Tom Sneva. Tom won the Indianapolis 500 this year and is the only man capable of winning the Triple Crown this year.
In the second row on the inside, Bobby Rahal. Bobby is in his 2nd year of championship racing, and he won his first oval race on this track a year ago. Gordon Johncock, who considers this his home racetrack, is starting in the middle of the row. He is the defending champion. On the outside of row 2 is Pancho Carter from Brownsburg, Indiana. He won the very first Michigan 500 2 years ago here.
On the inside of row 3, Allenzer Sr. He's on a winning streak after a long dry spell, looking for 3 in a row. Alongside in the center, his teammate Rick Mears, the defending kart champion. But Rick crashed here in the 500 last year. And on the outside, rookie John Paul Jr. He's driving with a broken leg. He's a 23-year-old endurance racing veteran.
And on the inside of the 4th row is Mike Mosley, the sentimental favorite of many a race fan all over the country. Very capable of winning this race. And on the middle of row 4 is Kevin Cogan. Remember, Kevin was the controversial driver over the last year's Indianapolis 500 start, but also a very quick race driver. On the outside of row 4 is Chip Ganassi. Chip is a good rookie driver, good young driver, and the only Patrick Wildcat in the race.
On the inside of row 5, Patrick Bedard, who is not a professional driver, but a professional motorsports rider trying to get some inside information. In the middle of that row, Danny Ungaius, who is making somewhat of a comeback after several hard crashes in championship racing. And on the outside of that row, one of the rising young stars of championship racing, Al Unser Jr., who is on a roll. He just won the Pikes Peak Hill Climb.
Rick Mears on the pace laps have pulled into the pits for some quick changes by his crew. The rest of the field out on the course. Should be one lap to green. The 6th row, Halsmer, Brayton, and Andretti. In the 7th row, Chris Neifel, Dick Simon, Tony Bettenhausen. In the 8th row, Jose Le Garza. Jeff Brabham replacing Desiree Wilson, who broke her leg in a race last week. Steve Chassis on the outside, the 9th row. Michael Chandler, Howdy Holmes with our camera car. Bill Alsop, the 10th row. Jerry Carl, Tom Bigelow, Dick Ferguson. And the 11th row, Johnny Parsons, Herm Johnson, and Jimmy McElreath. 11 rows of 3, and Rick Mears heads out of the pits after receiving some adjustment. Bobby Unser, you had the glasses up. Any idea what Rick needed?
Well, it looked like maybe the nose wasn't fastened, about the only thing I could figure. They weren't adjusting the wings, and best I could figure, there was 2 possibilities. One of them, a shock absorber adjustment. The other one had to be possibly the Zeus not fastened on the nose.
And Rick Mears pulls around the field and drops back into his starting position. That's perfectly legal at this point in the race as he drops in between John Paul and Al Sr. The field now on the backstretch. There are 2 former winners in this field, 1 kart champion. 5 cars qualified at over 200. 4 rookies start this race today. 17 March cars, 5 Penske's, 2 Wildcats, 3 Eagles, a Lola, a Rattlesnake, a Primus, an Argo, a Watson, and a McElreath. As the pace car already through the 4th turn, and the pole sitter, Tail Bobby, brings the front row of Don Whittington and Tom Sneva ever so slowly to the line. Now the pace begins to quicken. The green flag is in the hands of the starter, Nick Fenoro. We wait and watch to see will the green flag come out. They come off the 4th turn. Bobby brings them down toward the line. The starter watches, the green flag flies, and we're underway and racing in the 1983 Michigan 500. Dale Bobby accelerates quickly, heads off. Whittington pulls up high, and Gordon Johncock moves down low and chases the leaders.
Whittington has just gone around the outside and taken the lead down the backstretch with Johncock in 2nd, Bobby in 3rd.
A remarkable development right off the top as Don Whittington wants to lead this race. Gordon Johncock drops into 2nd. Tail Fabi continues dropping backwards.
The guy that's really moving right now, Paul, believe it or not, is going to be Tom Sneva. He's really taking a run at the leaders right now.
The leaders are side by side, almost touch wheels as they head to the start line, and it's a dead heat coming to the line. Almost impossible to tell who might have led, but now Tom Sneva moves out and around and picks up the lead.
They are really going after it to be this early in the race. Of course, Gordon Johncock, I can tell you, is going to make a move on Sneva. He's not going to let him get away.
We've got 2 stubborn people right there right now.
Well, Tom Sneva leading at the moment. We're in lap number 2 of the Michigan 500. Gordon Johncock right behind him. Don Whittington that jumped out in front is pulled back into 3rd. There is Johncock chopping at the back end of Sneva. Sneva continues to hold him off as they come toward the line one more time, and Johncock makes a try, pulling down inside Sneva. Can he hold that position? That's Don Whittington just sitting back and watching, and Gordon Johncock gets him.
Jordan is very fast there, Paul. Like Johnny said earlier, he thinks this is his racetrack. He's also a very, very headstrong driver. Of course, so is Tom Sneva. Remember what I said a while ago? There's going to be more racing than we've ever seen before because of the temperatures being so much cooler.
Well, originally, when we talked with these drivers and crews, they said they were just going to take it nice and easy in the early going. But that's not the case here.
It's like the start of a 150-miler, doesn't it?
It sure does. Gordon Johncock, the defending champion, pulls a little bit low coming across the line. Sneva is chasing him right now. And Don Whittington stays back in 3rd place. Teo Fabi has dropped back into 4th. Mario Andretti started 18th in this race. He's had problems developing. This new Lola car has now moved up into 10th position.
That's a pretty good move for Mario. Of course, that's the way he operates. Mario is the kind of guy that always is going for it. He'll be up in the front before we know it.
Here's 1st and 2nd. Gordon Johncock is now leading Tom Sneva. Bill Whittington, Don Whittington is sitting in 3rd.
You notice that Tail Fabi seems to be having a little bit of problem with traffic. I don't know if you've noticed that, Paul, but I have. And Stephen and Gordy are really hooked up and gone, and so is Don Whittington. But Tail seems to be falling back. He seems to have a little bit of uncertainty as far as what he's going to do with the traffic.
Gordon Johncock in his car number 20 is out in front, and Johnny Rutherford, we alluded to it earlier. This is not the Wildcat that we have seen all season. This is a new car. This is a March. Here's Teo Fabi as he is trying to maintain 4th place, but Bobby Rahal is trying to challenge him for it. Rahal with a very good run.
Yes, Rahal
is the kind of guy, you know, this, as I said, is his first victory. Was on this track in a short race, the end of last year. So he knows what it takes. He knows what it's like. Pacing himself for 500 miles is what it's going to take now.
That battle continues. We've got a car smoking heading into the fourth turn. Just a sudden plume of smoke coming out the back of the car, indicating an engine blows. And if it does that, then we have to watch behind it as well. Tom Bigelow, looks like the engine just let go on the car.
Well, it didn't let go completely, Paul. I think he has a very severe oil leak, and he's still continuing around, but he'll be in this lap, I'm
Yellow
sure.
flag is out.
Well, they'll bring him in. They have to, because he's got a very severe oil leak, if nothing else.
Here's how Howdy Holmes sees it as they're under the yellow now. Holmes heading into the third turn. He'll acknowledge the yellow flag, and the field will line up behind Gordon Johncock, Tom Sneva, and Don Whittington. The yellow flag comes out as a result of Tom Bigelow, who blew an engine. The yellow flag flies at Michigan just here in the early going as the field lines up. We'll be back right after this.
Beatico Creek, Louisiana, and Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Beatico Creek means bass, fat and tasty, and Milwaukee means beer, cold, crisp, Old Milwaukee beer, and the smooth golden light taste of Old Milwaukee Light.
Old Milwaukee.
And Old Milwaukee Light.
Taste as great as their name.
Let me tell you, it doesn't get any better than this.
Cycle Magazine says it runs with 750s without even breathing hard. Cycle World says it has excellent handling. Cornering clearance is exceptional. Cycle Guide calls it the world's quickest 650. Motorcyclist Magazine calls it the first 650 Superbike. We call it the Nighthawk. Only from Honda.
To win at this game, your feet need help. They need an edge. I gotta do fast starts, quick stops, jumping, kicking, miles of foot-pounding running. Here's my winning edge. Super tough insoles from Older Readers.
Super Tough. Reduce shock and foot fatigue. It's like wearing thousands of tiny foam springs to help you keep that spring in your step feeling.
And Older Readers' activated charcoal formula keeps even sneakers from smelling like sneakers.
Whatever your game, feel more spring in it. Super Tough Odor Readers for the winning edge.
We're back live at the Michigan 500. Gordon Johncock is our leader. A problem in the early going when Tom Bigelow blew an engine, so we're under yellow right now. And you'll remember on the start, Rick Mears headed for the pits. So let's head for the pits as well, where Bruce Jenner is with Roger Penske.
All right, Roger, why did Rick come in right there before the green?
Well, he wasn't quite sure about his front brakes. We made a change yesterday, and it was before the race started, so we came in, looked at the fronts. At the same time, we made an adjustment on the rear springs. We thought the way the day changed gave us an opportunity to make an adjustment before the race started.
But he's in there and okay now, huh?
So far, yeah. I just talked with him on the radio, and he said everything's good. It's going to be a long day.
It certainly will be for everybody. Let's go back up to Paul Page.
Thank you, Bruce. Let's take this view of the start of the race. This is our park camera, and it's over Howdy Holmes' right shoulder. Remember, we were the first to develop this onboard camera for these type of cars, and it's working beautifully today. As Howdy Holmes, you can hear the engine begin to pick up revs. One car jumps into a new position on the course. Obviously, they had to be in the right position, probably just fell back as they were scrubbing tires. And they're coming to the green flag now. Now, this is a few minutes ago as we were coming to the start. You can see Howdy Holmes reach down and grab the gear lever.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, that's one of the best shots from the inside of a car that I've ever seen in my life. It certainly gives you a nice, broad view of what's really happening. Look at it pick up the speed right now. Pretty is impressive, I think.
On the backstretch, here is Howdy Holmes. That was Bill Alsop that pulled up along on the outside. Now as the pace quickens for the front rows, this is 9 rows back. Videotaped during the start from the onboard camera. You can see the revs beginning to pick up. Now, the revolutions of the engine cause a lot of ignition, and when it does that, it'll cause a little distortion in the picture, but it's still more than acceptable. As we watch Howdy Holmes, the speed now really picks up. The front row getting the green flag at this moment, and Howdy Holmes would be racing.
Well, we're not too far away from getting the green again, Paul. Look at that shot. That's a beautiful shot coming into the green flag. Well, we're just about to have another one
involved there.
Yes, and you can see what it's like at 200 miles an hour, jockeying with other cars. See them pulling up and moving around. Howdy's being a little conservative there, holding back. The other cars kind of went on in, but now he's got it figured out, and he's going for it.
Howdy, Holmes. That's what it looks like from the race driver's point of view, and that little piece of plastic floating to the left of the picture there is one of the tearaways for the front of his helmet. We'll be talking more about that later. We're back. Live action here. The starter with the green flag once again is Gordon Johncock, is leading Tom Sneva and Don Whittington down to the line. We should be going back to the green flag. The green flag waves, and we're racing once again in the Michigan 500. The yellow was out when a car started spraying oil on the course. They wanted to check it. They checked it. It's clear now, and the battle is between Gordon Johncock and Tom Sneva.
Tom Sneva takes the advantage of the start, gets a little bit of a run in. Gordon Johncock takes the lead, but look at Gordy coming right back. Boy, he's a competitor.
Well, you would think it was a regular old Saturday night sprint race here, Bobby Unser, as Tom Sneva now leads Gordon Johncock down the backstretch.
Now we have Don Whittington taking a run at him. I'll swear this looks more like a 150-miler than a 500-miler if I've ever seen one.
Well, Don Whittington, who jumped out on the first lap, seems now content to sit back and watch Sneva and Johncock chop at it as they come across the line one more time. 10 laps now complete. The Michigan 500. Tom Sneva that is out in front. Now, of course, Sneva has his eyes set on the Triple Crown. If he can win this race, he's already won the Indianapolis 500. And the Triple Crown is represented by Indy, Michigan, and the Pocono 500. So if he can only pick up this race, then he has the opportunity to go on to Pocono and win $1 million. Tom Sneva, car number 5. It's red, blue, and predominantly white. It's a March, and it's one very fast machine.
Incidentally, Paul, that's $1 million over the regular purse. Now, that's an important thing to remember. That's $1 million plus.
A guy like you would remember that, Bobby.
Yes.
There's Mario Andretti, car number 3, the Lola, as he moves up and is now in 7th place, started 18th. Another car streams smoke from behind. Looks like Peter Halsmer may have just had an engine let go. Indeed it is, car number 66.
He pinned Chip Ganassi behind him when he pulled up there, and Chip did a very good job of staying under control.
Good piece of driving as Peter Halsmer blows an engine, raises his hand to indicate that he's slowing down, and the yellow flag comes out again in the Michigan 500. Bobby Unser, 2 blowing engines that early, especially on this car.
Well, you know, probably what's causing this is the weather change more than anything else. In other words, the cars need to run just a little bit richer right now because your air is a lot thicker. Engines are producing more horsepower, as I told you earlier. I think maybe they should have made just a slight adjustment to the fuel injection system and richen it up just a tick. I think what they've done, I think we've seen 2 burned pistons so far.
Look at this, Bobby, as Al Jr. comes into the pits. We're 10 laps deep. Is that part of a strategy, or do we have a problem? They're making a wing adjustment, Bob.
Yes, it's a wing adjustment. There's no question about it. And now's a good time to make it because his only penalty he's going to pay now is going to come in last place on the track.
Okay, does that mean that the track, with the wash of the rain today, has changed a lot?
Yes, it does mean that. That's what we talked about. And the only thing is that remembers this, is that Al will probably be changing the car back later on in the race. But I think if he knew that the track was going to go back to what it used to be, like yesterday, he would have changed the car right now, possibly.
So a quick twist of the wrenches, and his aerodynamics now changes.
Yes, and I think evidence of the change in the racetrack is the speed. Tom Sneva is running laps at 195 out there, and he was capable of doing 200s in practice very easily. So the track has slowed down just a little bit, but I think it'll pick up, as Bobby said.
There's Peter Halsmer climbing out of his car. He had a long day scheduled ahead of him at any rate. You remember, he broke a leg in a crash in practice for the Indianapolis 500. And he had to face the idea of a day running with that broken leg, but he's out of the race now, becomes a spectator. We'll be back with more of the Michigan 500.
From out of the distance comes a driver's car. Pontiac 2000 for 1983. A car that takes on the road with a smooth shifting 5-speed transmission with overdrive. The ready response of electronic fuel injection. And the steady whirling power of an overhead cam 4-cylinder engine. Pontiac 2000. Pure driving pleasure. At Pontiac, we build excitement.
I'm a chauffeur. It's up to me to take care of the cars I drive. Armor All Protectant, my secret. I use it on the tires, the vinyl top, and inside on the dashboard and the seats. It helps keep things like new. even on this old classic. I do hope the master never sells her. They just don't make cars like they used to. Armor All. It's science, but it works like magic.
Nothing tastes like Hawaiian punch. You only have to taste it once. Taste of the place. Ooh, far, far away. Come on and go Hawaiian. Hawaiian punch. Sail away, Hawaiian, sail away.
America takes on the world, the event, the long jump. And Carl Lewis is going for the gold. The World Championships of Track and Field on NBC.
There's Howdy in the pits with the camera. Back at the Michigan 500, we are still under yellow. 129 miles an hour, the average speed to this point. Tom Sneva is out in front of the field at the Michigan 500.
Yes, Howdy Holmes is in the pits right now. It looks like they just gave him a shot of fuel, injected his tires, he's gone again.
So the low speed of this yellow flag, we just mentioned 129, actually 129.730 average for the first 10 laps. And that is going to create some problems for television coverage of the Michigan 500. It does not appear, if they continue this kind of pace, that we will get the full 500 miles in. We come back to racing speed as the pace car heads into the pit area, and it's now Tom Sneva, Gordon Johncock, and Don Whittington out in front at the head of the field. The green flag flies, and we come back to racing speed once again. Tom Sneva, car number 5, Johncock in 20. Johncock comes down low, tries Sneva on the inside. Can he hold on at that lower line? It's faster, but it's also much harder to hang on to as Johncock moves past Sneva. Now they come to the backstretch. Can Sneva power past Johncock?
Boy, I don't know that Johncock is really going for it, but look at Sneva pull right back down on the inside and go by Johncock. I can't believe that they're going at it like this early in the race.
I wonder whether or not these fellows are asking the same question we have been all day, and that is there the possibility of another rain shower rolling through here?
I don't think so. I think you just have stubborn people having a stubborn race, that's all.
Now here comes Whittington. Whittington up on the outside. He wanted to try Johncock. Couldn't do it on the high side, switches down low, scrubs off too much speed in doing it.
He almost got sawed off. Whittington almost got left out on the wall there by Johncock on that pass.
I think he just wanted Johncock to see him in the mirror on each side of the car. Johncock drops in behind Sneva now, picks up a little bit of the draft, so he has to keep some of the wings out in clean air, so he'll sit off him just a bit. And Johncock looks like he wants to make a bid again.
Oh, he sure does. He's moved down into that low line, and it looks like Gordy's working well there, so he may be getting used to it, getting adjusted to it, so he can use it later on when he really needs it.
Now Johncock comes up alongside Sneva again.
There he goes, by on the inside again, and he's got the right spot this time. He caught Tom just right to where Tom had to check his throttle, and that will hurt him. I don't think he'll be able to catch him down the back straightaway.
Well, as Sneva's engine jumps up to 11,000 RPM, 720 horsepower, as does Don Whittington. Here they come, 3 abreast. Sneva gets out of the throttle, and Whittington cruises on to first place.
That was a fabulous pass, Paul. That was really a good pass. Don Whittington caught both of them sleeping and went by both of them at the same time.
Boy, what terrific track savvy by Don Whittington.
I guarantee this Johncock was surprised when that happened.
So Don Whittington, car number 91 out in front, but Johncock doesn't want to allow that to happen. He tries on the inside, has to fall back.
Oh, I think Gordy's finally settling down. Boy, it looks like these guys up the yellow get all excited again and worked up about competition because of the delay in this race. Now they get back out there and settle down because you can see them start making the gentle moves and getting back behind the guy rather than challenging harder.
Don Whittington, who stated his intent by moving the Simonized March out in front of the field at the start of the race, then dropping back, we've got a problem. Howdy Holmes into the wall. A crash down in the first turn as Howdy Holmes ricochets off the wall.
Yes, and he's sliding down. The car has a lot of fluids coming out of it. Howdy appears to be nasty. Thrown the steering wheel out of the way. He's coming out of the car, so evidently Howdy is all right as far as we can tell. Out of the car.
Howdy's all right, but I don't think our camera is. It's over the right shoulder of Howdy Holmes. The car certainly is badly damaged. There are the crews with Howdy.
he's taking a little bit of a shot. Yeah, he's looks like he's saying, I'm okay, but let me just stand here a little bit, kind of get used to this.
Dr. Steve Albee, the CART medical director, comes up, asks Howdy how he is. Howdy says he's frustrated. He walks away from the car. The first incident in this race, of course, that brings out the yellow flag. Howdy Holmes, from right close by here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, unstraps his helmet and walks away from the Michigan 500. At the same time, our onboard camera bites the dust.
Yep. So much for the camera.
We were hoping it was going to be good luck.
Turns out he didn't need his cool head suit either.
Right.
There's Howdy as he comes up into the wall. It just looked like the car pushed up into the wall.
Yes, he just slid up there, Paul, and he didn't really hit it very hard. He was very lucky.
Here it is from a different angle. The car just traveled up into the wall.
He could have had a flat tire, believe it or not. In fact, it kind of looks like a flat tire.
Yeah, it looked that way because he just kind of laid up there. It didn't really...
Did a slow one into the wall.
And he did the smart thing. He was able to keep it up against the wall. Whether the car just stayed there or he drove it up there, at least he kept it down away from traffic. Now with the yellow flag out, the leaders come in. Here's Gordon Johncock. Quick service from his crew. Most of the field decided to take advantage of this yellow, which came on lap number 20. Almost an ideal time as Don Whittington, who was the leader before the yellow, rolls back into traffic. Johnny, really a perfect time for these stops.
Yes, and the guys are all taking advantage of it, and they all made very good, smooth pit stops. Everybody was in at the same time and gone again.
There's the marks. That's the reason for the yellow. Howdy Holmes left these marks while he traveled up to the wall. Report is that he's fine. You see him walking now. Go over and take a look at his car, see how badly damaged it is, but Howdy's day is over, and Bobby Rahal picks up the lead at the Michigan 500 while we're under yellow. We'll be back.
I've loved this river since I was just a kid. But as more people moved in, it was bound to get dirty. So I was glad the town upstream installed a treatment system. Phillips Petroleum developed the plastic that makes it possible. Now, I don't know much about gasoline, but I go to Phillips 66. Because I'm not just buying gasoline, it's like I'm helping keep my river clean.
Fine products for you and your car from Phillips Petroleum, the performance company.
It usually happens late in the day. Your underarm alarm goes off, telling the world you need odor protection that keeps going as long as you do.
You should have used Old Spice.
Old Spice deodorant kills odor-causing bacteria and protects for 24 hours.
Happened to me at a party last night. You should have used Old Spice.
Old Spice helps stop underarm alarm for 24 hours. And now, look for Old Spice Solid Antiperspirant in a new musk scent.
What makes Pontiac 6000 the new rival to the world's great road cars? Let us count the ways. Front-wheel drive, electronic fuel injection, rack and pinion steering, McPherson front struts, high-tech engineering, European styling. It all adds up to 6,000. Pontiac 6000. And the excitement multiplies. Pontiac, we build excitement.
We're back at the Michigan 500. 21 laps are complete. Paul Page with Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, Gary Gerald, and Bruce Jenner. The yellow flag is out. And under the yellow, we now have Bobby Rahal in the lead. Don Whittington, Gordon Johncock, Tom Sneva all came into the pits. And it was really, if you were going to have a yellow, unfortunate for Howdy Holmes, more unfortunate for us and our onboard camera. But it was a pretty good time for a yellow.
Yes, it was, Paul. There's one thing that bothers me, though, and that's the fact that Rahal hasn't come in on this pit stop, on this yellow, and I just fail to understand why at the moment. I think that you found that most of the cars came in. In fact, every one of the fast cars that I saw came in. In fact, they almost had a traffic jam for a while.
Well, there's your leader, Bobby Rahal, Howdy Holmes' car up on the back. And when one of those Indy cars crashes, the only trace of fire is a little flash on impact. That's due to a safety device in the fuel line that is standard equipment on these Indy cars. A crash in the fourth turn. A crash in the fourth turn. A.J. Foyt is involved in that accident as they came back to the green. Several other cars sliding. Foyt rolls to a stop. Andretti comes to the high side. John Cox drops in behind Mears on the low side. Peter Holzmer is right there in the center. And Holzmer is hit by John Cox. Holzmer climbing up on the fence. John Cox almost head on into the fence. We watch the drivers. Both drivers staying in the car. No indication of fire. Rutherford in third place. Chasing Gordon Johncock down into the first turn. Johncock Rutherford is in the cockpit. He's strapped in, but he's moving. There's no fire on the car.
The severity of those crashes that we've just seen was reduced significantly by the fact that there was no major fire on impact, only a flash when those cars made contact with the wall. Over the past 10 years in this type of Indycar racing, the incidence of major fires because of racing crashes has been virtually eliminated thanks to this device. It's known as the Aeroquip Crashworthy Fuel Coupling. Now, this coupling is located right behind the driver, down here in the right side pod. It's immediately adjacent to the lower fuel tank, between the fuel tank and the engine. It's designed so that if a driver should have the misfortune of losing control, hitting a wall, upon impact, this coupling shears cleanly, and instantly the flow of fuel through here is sealed off. Tests under laboratory conditions demonstrate clearly just how the crashworthy coupling works. Upon impact, that coupling is designed to break apart and automatically seal off each half, thereby preventing fuel loss and substantially reducing the fire hazard. The original concept was designed for use in helicopters during the Vietnam War, where it saved hundreds of lives, then was adapted for use in Indycars. Along with the development of crashworthy bladders within fuel cells, the coupling has been instrumental in eliminating the threat of serious fire in racing accidents over the past 10 years. Bobby Rahal, who drives this car, is another driver who can vouch for the dependability of this particular system, because you may remember in our season opening kart race down in Atlanta, Rahal sheared off the entire right side of this car, and once again, there was no incidence of fire.
Bobby Rahal's car is leading this race right now. Howdy Holmes walks away from his car. Hi, Howdy. Gives us a little wave as he walks away. Wonderful gentleman, Johnny Rutherford. That little fuel coupling has helped you out a few times.
Well, yes, Paul. And, of course, you saw the accident I had at Pocono last year. Thank God for those little fuel couplers, because my car was damaged and very easily could have ripped that open and started a fire, but the dry brake caused it to do its job and keep the fuel contained, and that's a big blessing for those of us that drive race cars.
One very long walk for Howdy Holmes down through the first turn from where his car slammed into the wall, and the crews are still cleaning up that section of the track, trying to get the oil off of it. Let's go down. Here's Gary Gerald.
Well, we're down here on the Bobby Rahal pit. Alongside is Jim Truman. Jim, you elected to stay on the racetrack at this point. How crucial a gamble in your estimation?
Well, there's been a lot of laps so far under the yellow, which gains us some mileage. And as hard as everybody's driving, I think we're taking a little chance. But up front, you've seen them driving hard because I think they're afraid the race won't go all the way, and there's going to be a very aggressive race. So we're taking a bit of a chance. But if this yellow lasts maybe another 10 laps, then we would reconsider.
Were you surprised at that very heavy early pace? Upstairs, Hunter, Rutherford, they're talking like it's a 150-mile sprint race almost.
Well, it could be exactly a 250-mile sprint race with the weather the way it is, and I think that's what you're seeing.
All right, Jim Truman, who handles Bobby Rahal. We also have Pete Halsmer right alongside. Maybe we can get him to move in here. Peter went out of the race early, and this had to be a great disappointment after that spectacular second-place drive just 2 weeks ago at Cleveland.
Well, it was. You know, the guys really had the car going good. I can't say enough about them, and Frank Arciero for hanging in there with us. We had it up to 10th place, and I thought we were going to be there at the end, but that's the way it happens.
How much have the track conditions changed because of the rain, Pete?
I don't think it's really affected it that much. It really hasn't. The car seemed good out there. It didn't seem to have changed much from before, so I think that's why you're seeing the guys going pretty good already.
All right, thank you, Pete. Back upstairs to Paul.
Peter Halsmer out of the race. Jim Truman watching his car. This one, car number 2, Bobby Rahal, out in front. We're under the yellow as they still clean up from Peter Halsmer's accident. Theo Fabi and Al Unser closing in on the leader. We'll be back.
From the dusty deserts of Baja through the sound barrier, the Budweiser racing teams always play to win.
a foam shave with an Edge gel shave made real news. Now we're making news again with new Skin Conditioning Edge with lanolin. Most men agree. Our newest gel lets you shave closer than the leading foam. Better still, it conditions your skin, so it feels smoother. Discover new Skin Conditioning Edge with lanolin. For smoother skin, it could be the best news your face ever had.
Undefeated veteran Nino LaRocca takes on hard-hitting Pistol Pete Runzani in a welterweight brawl. Plus, the men's champion will be crowned as our Survival of the Fittest competition concludes with a survival run, only on NBC's Sports World.
Got a shot of Gordy on there, quick.
We're back at the Michigan 500. 24 laps are complete. Our average speed way down, 128 miles an hour. Tom Sneva, one of the early leaders, now sitting back in the field waiting for the restart of the race. Pace car remains out. They're still cleaning up debris and oil from that accident when Howdy Holmes hit the wall. Fortunately, Howdy Holmes was not injured. Now, we're watching as the field comes around and keeping a special watch back in the field on Gordon Johncock, who keeps holding his hand in the air.
Well, I think all he's doing is telling everybody behind him that there's going to be another lap before he goes, and probably get a little blood circulation going. It's a little bit early for that, though.
He doesn't want to take any chances whatsoever as Gordon Johncock under the yellow comes across the start-finish line.
It's the old sprint car wave on stand, boys. Another lap to go.
Car number 20. Now they're signaling 1 lap to go. Gordy, in a March this year.
You know, another car
moves around.
Another car to watch is Kevin Kogan in car number 6. He's been doing a real nice job hanging in there. He's not been up where we could really see him contending, but he's right in there.
Bobby Rahal is still out in front. We're watching Gordon Johncock, who changed from a Wildcat to a March. We ask him how the new March handles.
I'm driving the March now, and I don't think I've ever driven a car here on a high-speed, high-bank racetrack like this that really worked any better for me or felt any better. I can really hang the car out and do a lot of things with it. You know, I can run high, I can run low, I can run loose, and the back end will still stay under the car, and it gives you a good feeling when a car operates like that.
There's Gordy Johncock under the yellow. The pace car still has the flashing light on, indicating that they might continue to go. Now, Howdy Holmes, in that accident earlier, is now with Gary Gerald.
Well, Howdy Holmes getting a refreshing drink. He's made his way back in here along pit road. Howdy, first of all, how do you feel? I understand a little soreness around the neck right now.
Well, it's sore now. It's going to be real sore later. But no broken bones, I'm aware of. Heard a few cracks and things, but that's just my bad posture, I imagine.
Unfortunately, the camera, of course, went out when you went out of the race. We can't see that crash, but we were getting spectacular pictures. How was the race car handling?
It's handling fine until the corner worker said the right front wheel fell off, and then it didn't drive too well.
So you had absolutely no warning whatsoever?
I had no warning whatsoever.
Well, we're glad to see that you're back all right.
Thanks. Sorry about your camera. I hope you got another one.
All right, thank you. Howdy Holmes now out of the race, Paul.
So Howdy Holmes out of the race. Our little onboard camera out of the race as well. We are still under the yellow flag, watching Gordon Johncock still with his hand up in the air. The Michigan 500 with 27 laps complete. We'll be back.
Seguin, Texas, and Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Seguin means barbecue at its biggest and best, and Milwaukee means beer. Cold, crisp, old Milwaukee beer, and smooth, golden old Milwaukee Light.
And old Milwaukee.
And old Milwaukee Light.
Tastes as great as their name.
You know, it doesn't get any better than this.
Create a car to conquer the wind. A car that lets you slip off the commonplace and experience driving excitement as never before. The Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Sit here and learn firsthand how Firebird conquers the wind and the world. Pontiac. We build excitement.
Your father gave it to you for your 5th birthday. Now it's your turn to pass it on. Any spray paint could make it red again, but Rust-Oleum, with an average of 50% more protective ingredients than its nearest competitor, can do more. Its protective formula not only prevents rust, but gives metal better protection against chipping and peeling. So if what you're painting isn't ordinary, why should your paint be? Rust-Oleum. Any metal worth painting is worth protecting.
And as we await the green to return to Brooklyn, Michigan, Len Berman, along with Mike Adamle in our New York studios. Let's get you caught up to date with what's going on around Major League Baseball this afternoon. Lots of action in the American League. Let's start up at Yankee Stadium. Yankees and Texas Rangers going at it. The Yankees have just regained the lead on a Rick Cerone RBI single that scored Steve Kemp. So the Yankees now lead the Texas Rangers 7-6 as they enter the top of the 7th inning at Yankee Stadium. In Boston, the old man is just homered, so update that score as 42-year-old Kar Yastrzemski has just hit another one. So it is now A's 8, Red Sox 7. 8-7 A's as they play the bottom of the 7th inning. Kar Yastrzemski goes on and on, but he will retire at the end of this year. The Orioles trying to gain on first place Toronto. That is a final now as the Orioles have defeated the California Angels 11-1. The lone Angel run, a home run by Bobby Grich in the 5th inning. In Cleveland, they are tied as they play the top of the 8th inning. Kansas City 2 and Cleveland 2. In Chicago, as they play the bottom of the 7th inning, the White Sox lead the Blue Jays 3-2. The Blue Jays have the least losses of any team in the American League. And since Baltimore has won, should Toronto lose, the Orioles will be just 2 games back of Toronto. Bottom of the 6th inning, Milwaukee now 5-4 over Minnesota. We can update that score for you as the Brewers have just come up with 3 more. So in the bottom of the 6th inning, it is at least 8-4 Milwaukee over Minnesota. That's the story in the American League thus far this afternoon. National League, here's Michael.
Lennon, it was a day of home runs in the National League, particularly in Philadelphia, where the Cincinnati Reds beat the Phillies 5-2. The difference there, Johnny Bench's pinch hit home run in the 7th inning, a 2-run shot there. And Montreal leads the Atlanta Braves. They are trying to break a 6-game losing streak. That score 3-0. Right now, let's send you back to Brooklyn, Michigan. More of the CART Michigan 500.
We're back at the Michigan 500. We are still under the yellow flag. Bobby Rahal is out in front. And the G-forces on this course at Michigan pay a big, big factor. We asked Bobby Rahal about this track.
The G-forces are just tremendous. We're actually going faster in the corners here than we are at Indy. So you're feeling you're just getting compressed in the car. And the track is a rougher track than Indy.
Bobby Rahal, our leader at the moment, car number 2. Lined up right behind him is car 17, Al Unser Jr. And they have both elected to just wait a bit and see about their pit stops, Bobby.
Well, little Al made the stop early for a wing adjustment and a mirror adjustment, and now, lo and behold, he's in 2nd place, and he's right where he ought to be this point of the race. I couldn't say anything any better.
Now is Bobby Rahal. We thought we'd never see this. Earlier in the day, it was so hot you'd never need to swing back and forth to scrub your tires up to temperature. Now he has to do it. Bobby Rahal out in front. Al Jr., little Al, in 2nd place right now, still under the yellow. Gordon Johncock is sitting back behind these cars, and Johnny Rutherford, he has kept his hand up in the air all the way around the track. I wonder if it doesn't mean something different than what we speculated. There he is.
Well, that is a little bit puzzling, but a lot of times you'll hold them up like that to get some air to them. They might be especially hot for whatever reason, and he may have wet his gloves down, and they might not be very comfortable, so he's trying to dry them out. And there's any number of reasons, but he was driving down the backstretch a while ago, holding both of them high in the air. So it's hard to tell at this point just exactly what it might be.
New style for Gordon Johncock, nonetheless.
Not surprising, though.
Pace car out on the field. Indications are we should be going back to the green flag. And when we do so, we're going to keep an eye on Gordon Johncock. The car, a March, new car for him. They've abandoned the Wildcat effort. They're working with this March. The March was on loan, actually, from Gordy's teammate for the moment, Danny Ungaias. He had 2 Marches. He loaned 1 to Gordy. He's driving 1 himself, and it's being maintained by the Pat Patrick team. We will keep an eye on Gordon Johncock as we come back to the green flag. He's 3rd in the serial right here as Rahal and Little Al start to scrub their tires. Gordon Johncock pulls his hand down and decides his tires are working perfectly.
Well, his car is working good. I don't think he's having very many problems so far, except he's had his head up in the air too long. I just don't understand it. Now they're getting up to speed, though. They're all getting ready to come down for the green flag, and little Al's getting a run on Rahal already.
The speed picks up. We watch the leaders. That's Bobby Rahal and Al Jr. as they come to the green flag once again. And a drag
car work. If he can work down there, he has a very good chance to be able to move anywhere he wants to on the track, take the lead at the right time.
Well, it's the right moment for little Al. He's following in the family tradition. 1 week ago, he won the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. There are quite a few unders on that trophy,
Yeah,
Bobby.
that's right. That's for certain sure. And I'll tell you, like Johnny just told you, any car that worked on the bottom here at Michigan is going to be a fast car.
Now here comes little Al across the line. Bobby Rahal right behind him, and there goes Gordon Johncock heading on through, but he seems content to let the leaders get away from him.
Yes, you know that. I think everyone's settled down now. They were a little bit uptight on the beginning of the thing, and everybody was trying to race, and then they suddenly realized, hey, this is a 500-mile race, and we better take it easy on the equipment.
So there goes Gordy, and you can see the interval, the two leading cars. There's little Al and Bobby running out in front. They're about 250 yards ahead of Gordon Johncock.
We must remember that Ray Hall has to make a pit stop pretty quick. He cannot go much longer without coming in for a drink of fuel.
So that'll be the question. When can they come in and refuel that car? Little Al is out in front here. The Unser family owns that race at Pikes Peak. Al Jr. had his first win there, and we talked with him about running on the hill.
To be able to go up and to Pikes Peak and do what we did up there, meaning so much to me and my family, it's a great thing, and you know, it gives me a good feeling inside, and I hope we can do the same here.
Little Al, last week's winner of the hill climb at Pikes Peak and leading the Michigan 500 right now.
He's certainly looking good, Paul. There's really not anybody gaining on him. John Cox pulled up a little bit on Ray Hall and Little Al, but other than that, it's staying about the same. And I think it's like Johnny's
Johncock right there on the right of the screen, Bobby Unser. Now, really, Johncock at the moment is in the best position as we look at Gordon Johncock. When the two leaders have to stop, then it's going to be Johncock. Here is a battle for fourth. That's Kevin Kogan and Tom Sneva. Teammates are battling for fourth place as Kogan moves into fourth.
They have really been going at it back there. Chip Ganassi has moved into that battle.
Pancho Carter as well, and Don Whittington down on the inside.
They have really been going at it since the green flag dropped, and it's quite a battle there.
So while out in front, Ray Hall and Little Al can pull away. Their cars are getting lighter, less fuel on board. They'll have to stop soon, and the rest of the field is closing up.
Well, remember, Ray Hall's the one that's really light on fuel. He's in trouble. Little Al stopped already. Ray Hall hasn't stopped yet, Paul, so Little Al's still got quite a bit of fuel on board, so he's running with a heavy load.
You're right. Here's Tom Sneva. Sneva, report now slowing down. Tom Sneva, the Indianapolis 500 champion, the man in a search for the Triple Crown, slows down just a bit, see if it was anything serious as he turns down toward the pits. So Tom Sneva, the Texaco star, could this be the end of his quest for $1 million in the Triple Crown? An unscheduled stop. He slowed down on the backstretch. Let's watch as he comes into the pit and go down to Bruce Jenner. The stop, the crew. Now he almost stalls the car, lights the tires, pulling out, and goes back into the action. Bobby, what did they do?
Paul, believe it or not, there was nothing more than a tire change and fuel. That's it. They didn't adjust the wing, they didn't adjust the spring or anything. So that was very rare stop. I don't understand it.
Well, it was a sudden pull down on the backstretch.
I have a hunch he has a flat tire is what he had.
Might have seen something just like that, decided to get in as quickly as he could. He did it, they changed tires, he's back in the action. Bobby Rahal is still leading. Little Al is in second place as Rahal now encounters some of the slower cars in the field, the back markers. Rahal has a traffic situation in front of him. He comes past Dick Ferguson, and toward the start-finish line, Bill Alsop is right behind him, but it's Bobby Rahal running very light now. Bobby Unser mentioned that Al Unser Jr. has already stopped. Gordon Johncock has stopped. It is only Bobby Rahal that has not.
Yes, and that will tell the tale. He needed to make that stop. I think Bobby was right. That was a bad move not to come in during the last part of that yellow and just lose a little bit of spot in the queue, and then you could have come up and you would have been in good shape the next time.
There's Bobby Rahal, the current leader. Let's go to the pits. Here's Gary Jarrell.
Well, Paul, it's a problem on the right rear tire. There was a puncture on Sneva's right rear. They made the change up front on the right side. They've now taken this tire, they've X'd the puncture spot. They're moving it back behind the chain at this point to make sure that it's out of circulation. But that was the problem for Tom Sneva. That explains that sudden slowdown on the backstretch.
What an eye, Bob
Bobby Unser. You called it 100%.
Well, I didn't have to be too near right because they didn't change too many things, so that gave me a little bit of an advantage.
So Tom Sneva having the misfortune of having to stop under the green and change that tire. These tires are built for speed, not necessarily for durability, so if they run over just the tiniest bit of debris, they will puncture. Now we watch Bobby Rahal. Stop could come almost any time now. Jim Truman and his crew waiting in the pits, still not giving indication at all that they are ready to bring Rahal in. 40 laps are now complete in the running. This is a 2-mile track. The distance is 500 miles for the race, a total of 250 laps, and Bobby Rahal has just completed 40 of them.
They're starting to come into traffic now, Paul and Bobby. It's, you know, you can see them moving and dodging, and it's interesting to watch the different techniques. It's the way guys try to move low or high. If your car's not working down low, then you're in trouble because you can't pull down to pass a slower car, and this gives you a disadvantage. You've got to wait on that slower car to get out where you can go by him.
Bobby Rahal, the current leader, won his first Indycar oval race on this track last September. He's a sophomore in Indycar racing. He won his first race at the Cleveland 500 last year. So he's now won a road race, won an oval race. They were wondering about his run on the ovals because his background is through the Sports Car Club of America and their road racing series. But he's showing that he can handle the oval. He is out on the course and running in the lead. Bobby Unser.
Well, for Rahal, I can't say anything but the best, Paul. The guy has been an exception to the rule. He's really defied everybody. It's a lot like Dale Babbitt. He came in as a road racer. He adapted to the oval track immediately, not a year or two, but immediately, and that's the same thing that Dale's been doing.
And now, out on the course, Bobby Rahal comes up behind Jim McElreath. Jimmy's been in the pits twice since he started in 33rd position, just maintaining his speed out there, but he's been able to stay in the race in that car number 23. The time and speed report at 30 laps, 97-mile-an-hour average. That, of course, because of the 2 yellows as a result of blown engines, and then the long yellow as a result of Howdy Holmes accident.
Well, that certainly knocks down the average at 4 of the 500 miles, so I doubt with that kind, at this point, we'll
and
see.
here comes Rahal. Rahal coming on the pit road now. The crew is ready. Bobby Rahal comes off the course, out of the lead, and down into the pits.
See, Paul, I think that I would have to construe this as being a very bad judgment early on, like we asked Jim Truman about. And I think if Jim Truman could reverse it right now, he would have stopped when everybody else stopped, because all he got out of this whole deal was a few lead laps, and now he's going to be way behind under the green. He's going to lose at least one
Here's
lap.
the fight for the lead as Al Jr., Little Al, and Gordon Johncock are thrashing away for the lead. Here's Johncock coming up high. Al forged ahead for just a moment. Johncock's going to try him coming off of the 4th turn, and Johncock moves ahead. They close down on the back of Michael Chandler. Johncock drops inside Chandler. Little Al bounces just a bit as they come into the 1st turn. They still have traffic to deal with. Chandler is now behind. They both use an extraordinarily low line, Bobby.
Well, they are. Little Al is very low on that. In fact, he was too low, and Gordy got right back by him. And
they come past Bobby Rahal, who came out of the pits and back up to speed, but they got past him as he came out and goes 1 lap down.
Yes, that puts him 1 lap down, and that's not a good place to be. Now, he's going to have to give chase, and if he can catch the leaders and go back by and get in the same lap, then if he gets a yellow, he'll be back in contention, but not until he does that.
JR, Bobby was right again. A terrible time for a stop. Rahal now sitting 1 lap down, and Gordon Johncock leading, but Little Al, look at that line. A terrifically low line. I wonder how he does it.
I think it's awfully low. I think it's a little bit too low, Paul. But for the same token, I'll guarantee you that that's where Gordy usually runs. And Gordy knows that if Little Al stays down there, pretty soon he's going to have the track, and Gordy's track is going to get very greasy. I mean, where Gordy is on the track.
And there is Gordon Johncock out in front, car number 20, the STP March, the Pat Patrick Racing Team. And Little Al right behind him as they continue their battle for the lead.
We also see Bobby Rahal, who is sitting there in 3rd position, and he's getting used to that fuel load, and he's starting to move up on the leaders again.
So Al's job is to try to catch Gordon Johncock and get around, and then just out of the edge of that picture, we watch Johncock pull away. There comes Little Al, and right behind Little Al is Bobby Rahal, 1 lap down, currently in 3rd place.
Now, he's got to get that lap back. He's got to get ahead of those guys if he can in order to be able to come back into the same lap. And we've got Al Unser coming into the pits. Little Al is coming into the pits now.
On the pit road, here is Little Al, Al Jr., car number 17, 17, the Coors Silver Bullet. They come to the pits. The crew is ready. Is this part of the normal schedule, Bobby?
Yeah, so far it's not a penalty. Now, if they don't have a yellow flag between the time he stops and the time that the other fast cars are stopped early in that yellow that we looked at, if they don't have a yellow between now and then, little Al's still in good shape. If they do, though, he's in a heap of hurt.
The fuel lines come off. He's still sitting there. Let's go to Bruce Jenner.
When Little Al came into the pits, he got rear tires. He also had an adjustment to the front wing. And he's also having problems with his left rear view mirror. They tried to adjust it. They couldn't adjust it. They put some tape on it. So he seems to be having some handling problems, especially with changing the rear tires. Let's go back up to Paul.
Little Al comes back into the action, but he's got his problems.
Yes, I don't think he has too many problems. The reason they changed both rear tires, Paul, was to change the stagger on the tires. That means the size of the tires, which has an awful lot to do with the handling, and especially at this racetrack.
Gordon Johncock out in front of the Michigan 500. 48 laps are now complete. 500 miles, the scheduled distance. He is the defending champion. He's in a new car this year. It is a March. The Wildcats just didn't seem to work, so they got this March. And boy, it is working for Gordon Johncock. As he comes down below Pat Nadar, Gordon Johncock on the straightaway. The yellow flag is out. We've got a car stopped on the backstretch. Smoke pouring out of the back end. Driver twists around to try and climb out. It looks like Michael Chandler, as Michael Chandler climbs out of a very hot car.
Yes, it appears that he's had an engine let go or something in the back end. He's not too concerned. He got up where he could move if he wanted to, but now he's walked away from the car. The cart truck is there to attend to it, and they'll probably give him a pull in.
Michael Chandler, the car is a rattlesnake, comes to a stop in the center of the backstretch. The yellow flag comes out, and we'll see what that will do with the pit situation and the strategy now as Gordon Johncock heads down the pit area while we continue to watch Michael Chandler on the backstretch under the yellow flag. Here is Johncock coming in. Kevin Cogan, who has moved up to second place, comes in as well. So first and second place are now in the pit. Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
Gordon Johncock taking a drink of cold water, fuel being added on the near side, stubbornness on the tires on the right side, George Ewing wheeling the air wrench, now checking underneath around the suspension. They come off the jack. Johncock goes away. Let's go to Bruce Jenner.
Mike Mosley in on the pits right now. They had trouble initially getting the fuel contact put in and being able to get the fuel into that, but they're giving them some tires. Now they seem to have the problem with the right rear tire with actually getting it on. It's a long stop for Mike Mosley. It's going to hurt. They still have the car up on the jacks. It has already been refueled, and I can see him frantically working on the right or the right rear tire. Mosley is back in it. They seem to have the problem solved, and Mike Mosley is back in the race. Paul?
Mike Mosley, car number 18, started this race in 10th, has continued to operate in just about that position as car number 91, who was identified as the leader under these stops, comes in for a stop. The Michigan 500, 51 laps complete, and we've had a lot of action here. We will be back.
You're looking at a marvel of automotive design. Every part state-of-the-art. The powerful Pennzoil Penske Indycar. Roger Penske built it for reliability. It takes the skill of Rick Mears' Indycar champ to handle it. And when his engine's turning over 10,000 RPMs, he needs a motor oil engineered for reliability to stand the strain. Pennzoil motor oil for top engine protection, whatever you drive. Protection you can rely on. Pennzoil.
The Maverick. You've got to get him back. And when you've got him, you head for the mountains. Bush. Head for the beer that goes down smooth as a mountain stream. Bush. Brewed the natural way for a taste as smooth as its name. Bush.
Head for Bush beer. Head for the mountains.
From out of the distance comes a driver's car. Pontiac 2000 for 1983. A car that takes on the road with a smooth shifting 5-speed transmission with overdrive. The ready response of electronic fuel injection. And the steady whirling power of an overhead cam 4-cylinder engine. Pontiac 2000. Pure driving pleasure. At Pontiac, we build excitement.
Don't miss the very best in baseball. Two contenders square off as the Fanatics from Philly take on the Atlanta Braves. Or will San Diego's feathered friends put a spell on the Cubs? Only on NBC Sports.
This is Paul Page with Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, Bruce Jenner, and Gary Gerald. We're at the Michigan 500. 52 laps are complete. The yellow flag flies. Michael Chandler had a problem with his machine on the backstretch, slowed down, smoke poured out of the car, and they sent the equipment out. Michael, of course, not injured in that, but they still have to clear his car off of the race course. Pancho Carter picked up the lead as most of the field came into the pit stop. And here is Pancho coming up to speed, trying to find his place in the serial in behind Danny Ongayas and Don Whittington. Was that a little bit of an argument we saw there, Bobby? That reminded me of something you did at Indy.
I hope it wasn't. You know. I hope nobody else has to go through what I did.
Michigan 500. 52 laps complete. The average speed picking up now. 118 miles an hour, the average speed at 50 laps. Well, 17 cars in this field are marches. The march is a car built for customer purchase.
Well, if you think the Michigan 500 looks like a lot of fun and you'd like to do some IndyCar racing, then this is what you have to have. This is the March. This is the only car built for customers in IndyCar racing. Penske and Pat Patrick, they build their cars strictly for their own drivers and sell them later. But for a check for $120,000 sent to March Engineering in Oxfordshire, England, you can own one of these cars. Of course, the $120,000 includes only the car. The engine, another $50,000 or so. But it appears that in 1983, this is the car that you really want to have anyway. The car is designed by Robin Hurd of March Engineering, with constant updates and input by Ian Reed, George Bignotti, and Barry Green, crew chiefs on our IndyCar teams. The March is like most other Indy cars. It weighs about 1,500 pounds, measures 14 feet 5 inches long, and goes to terminal velocities approaching 250 miles an hour in a straight line. To allow a car to go that fast, everything on the machine must be perfectly aerodynamic, including the parts in the front suspensions that whistle through the air close to the ground. The cockpit itself is only 24 inches wide, but it's designed for driver comfort and security. A strong set of belts hold the driver firmly in place in the seat. The seat's nothing to brag about, but it's comfortable and carries the driver well for 500 miles. The instrument layout is simple. A tachometer to tell you engine speed, an instrument to tell you how hot the turbocharger is, and something to tell you how hot the water and oil is. Any race car design is a compromise between the rules that govern it, the aerodynamics that control it, and the safety that is absolutely necessary for it. The March has the rapid refueling system necessary to all Indy cars. And it has very secure safety systems, including a strong rollover bar, one behind the driver and another hidden up under the bodywork in the front. The actual dimensions of the car fit the rules exactly. The wheelbase is 110 inches. The front wheels, a 65-inch track with a rear track of 63 inches. The car is 36 inches high at the rear wing. It is weighted so that 70% of the weight is toward the rear of the car. And when fully loaded, it carries 40 gallons of fuel. When the March is fitted with an 8-cylinder twin overhead cam Cosworth at 2.6 liters or 159 cubic inch displacement, it will develop 710 horsepower at 48 inches of boost and 11,000 RPM. When the car is finally fully assembled, the price now approaches $200,000 just to set it on the pavement. Then to go to a racetrack, you need something to put it in, a couple of spare engines, 20 or so wheels to mount your 20 or so extra tires, and a lot of extra help to make it go fast and win the Michigan 500.
Well, we started the race with 33 cars. 17 of them were marchers. Howdy Holmes hit the wall. There are now 16 marchers in the Michigan 500. Now the report from the pits. Once again, we go to Gary Gerald.
Brabham is sitting here in the number 34 car. You can see Lou Parks at the right side pod working down there. They have had water pouring through what appears to be a very large hole in the radiator, some type of coolant coming out. He's trying to seal it off at this time. It was just gushing out. Now they're trying to refill and get some of that fluid back into the car as Parks continues to work. Meanwhile, Brabham having to just sit here trying to be patient. But if we've never seen an instance recently where so much water came gushing out of one of those radiators over in the right side pod. They had to strip stripped the upper part of the bodywork off. Now they're getting ready to replace it, hoping that they've sealed that plug. They've replaced some fluid, and he hopes to get back on the racetrack, but he's been in the pits far too long.
Jeff Brabham, a long stop for car number 34, originally assigned to Desiree Wilson. We'll look at the standings under yellow here, 55 laps now complete. John Cock is our leader. He's been up at the front of the leaderboard several times during the race. Kevin Cogan, driving a very smart race, sits in second. Then John Paul Jr., Teo Fabi, who started on the pole, and Al Unser Sr. has moved up to fifth.
Paul Al Unser Sr., if you've been watching, has just never fallen back. He's just been up near the top all the time. His pit stops have been timely and very good.
Here are the cars out of the race. Peter Halsmer, you'll remember he blew his engine in car number 66. That's a Penske PC-10. Howdy Holmes, we mentioned, hit the wall. So did our onboard camera when he did. And Michael Chandler, just a few moments ago, blew an engine, bringing out the yellow flag that is now coming to termination as the pace car comes back up to speed at the Michigan 500. And the green flag should wave once again with Gordon Johncock out in front and Kevin Cogan in second place. Here's Tom Sneva as he streams across the line, heading down into the first turn.
Yes, and we know Chip Ganassi has moved up into that group and just made a pass on Gordon Johncock, I believe, and there goes Gordy back by again.
So that's the Wildcat that Gordy had so much trouble with, and you had even more, Johnny Rutherford. And it's running right there alongside Gordy, though I suspect Gordy will be pulling away real quick.
Well, I would think so, but then Chip Ganassi is a fine young rookie, and he's doing a whale of a job. I just kind of wish I had a car so I could be out there amongst them.
Johnny Rutherford, we're glad to have you in here as he watch Gordon Johncock comes down the inside Mike Mosley. They come across the line. Bobby Rahal in close pursuit there, but the actual leaderboard shows Gordon Johncock in front and Kevin Cogan in second place. And Cogan is sitting back just a bit now. So far, he's driven a very, very smart race. He's actually 4 positions behind Johncock. There he is in car number 6, the Caesars Palace March. And he is in second place. These other cars are simply trying to move up and get on the lead. We're looking at the leader serial right now. Johncock well out in front. So yes. Gordon Johncock in that march, leading the Michigan 500 with 57 laps complete. Average speed picking up above 120 miles an hour. We'll be back right after this.
What makes Pontiac 6000 the new rival to the world's great road cars? Let us count the ways. Front-wheel drive, electronic fuel injection, rack and pinion steering, McPherson front struts, high-tech engineering, European styling. It all adds up to 6,000. Pontiac 6,000. And the excitement multiplies. Pontiac, we build excitement.
Seguin, Texas, and Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Seguin means barbecue at its biggest and best. And Milwaukee means beer. Cold, crisp, old Milwaukee beer. And smooth, golden, old Milwaukee Light.
And old Milwaukee.
And old Milwaukee Light.
Tastes as great as their name.
You know, it doesn't get any better than this.
This is Paul Page. We're back at the Michigan 500. 59 laps of 250 scheduled are now complete. Car number 20, Gordon Johncock, is out in front. Being chased by Kevin Cogan, but Cogan still seems more than satisfied to simply watch the leader. Johnny Rutherford, probably pretty good strategy at this point for Cogan.
Oh, I think so. You know, I've said from the start of this thing, he's really moving. And, of course, he's battling with Chip Ganassi in the Wildcat. Going at it there, and they are doing a fine job, really racing one another.
Here is Ganassi. He wants to stay with Cogan. He'd like to get around him and pick up a lap, I'm sure. Ganassi in the bright red car down on the inside. Cogan in the blue and white machine on the high side. But Cogan, in the past few laps, seems to go about everywhere he wants to.
Yes, his car is working well. I think that's why he's content to stay right there. He knows when it comes time, he can make the right move.
Now coming into the picture down on the inside of Ganassi is that green and white car of Teo Fabi. He is closing down on Cogan. Fabi is currently running in third place. So this is now a battle for second developing as Bobby closes in behind Cogan.
Well, I think it's just about the end. Fabi's going into second right now, and I think Teo's starting to get the feel of the racetrack a little bit more because all of a sudden it looks like he's got a second win and he's charging.
Well, Teo Fabi assumes second place. Cogan slides back into third. Johncock is still our leader. Fabi him. He just absolutely loves this course, and that seems amazing because he comes up from road racing.
Well, he's doing a very good job here. Like I say, he's getting the feel of it now. But, Paul, if you don't mind my mentioning, the guy that really is running as fast as on the racetrack right now, trying to unlap himself, believe it or not, is Tom Sneva. To the crowd, he looks like he's out in front, but he's not on our camera because he's way ahead.
There he is right there. Tom Sneva running all alone. The fourth turn, well out in front of the leaders, trying to make up that lap, and he is flying.
He is holding that position. Holding that position. He is in front of the leaders. If they get a yellow, that'll give him a chance to move all the way around the track, back up behind them, and then start challenging again.
So, good strategy for Tom Sneva. Gordon Johncock leads. Abbey is in second. Let's go down to the pits and Bruce Jenner.
Well, Paul, I'm with a very disappointed Michael Chandler. First, Michael, what happened to the car?
Well, I was experiencing like a surge of power, then a loss of power. In the last few laps, the motor started going away, and finally it let go.
When it did, it seemed like you got out awfully quickly. Were you afraid of a fire?
Well, all I could see is in my mirrors. Our mirrors are small. I saw a lot of smoke. And I'm in the car with all sorts of devices, radios, listening to the pop-off, a water hose, and so I was trying to get out.
I'm glad you're okay. Well, we just went under the yellow. Let's go back up to Paul Page.
Yellow flag comes out not because of an incident on the course, but one affecting it. They say that it is raining on one section of the course. No strong indication of that, but it just takes a little bit of moisture to slow this field. So the yellow flag flies once again at Michigan. 63 laps are complete, and it's Johncock still up in front. We'll be back.
You can say the ballet is my life, so keeping healthy is important to me. When I'm not feeling well and I need medicine, I make sure I get the right information. When I take a non-prescription medicine, I read the label first and follow directions carefully. If it's a prescription, I make sure I understand the doctor's instructions. I have to. My good health and my career begin with me.
I know Intellivision is a great system, but I want to make it better.
Well, we're already adding a computer keyboard.
And a music synthesizer.
And a system changer to play more home video games than any other system.
But the only thing it doesn't have is its own TV.
Buy any Intellivision master component, and Mattel Electronics will send you this 13-inch color TV for only $75.
I'm glad I thought of that.
When the color in a picture is so close to nature it can tempt a bee. So real, the picture practically comes to life. And so true it can even fool an expert. Then you know it's the color of Kodacolor 2 film. Color's so good, it may surprise you. Kodacolor 2 film, from Kodak, of course.
This is the place for the real taste of beer.
It's what beer ought to be. I mean, you really know you're drinking beer.
For the real taste of beer, Pabst is the place.
Distance of 250 miles.
Half plus 1 lap, Paul. And I don't think they're going to get it if it rains now, but the skies don't look all that bad to us. I see a good racing afternoon left.
Well, our hope, Johnny Rutherford, is that this is just a single cloud passing over the area.
Well, it might well be, and of course, I want to make the point that I've been saying all along. Tom Sneva, in fact, made up his lap and now is back in contention. So when we do go green again, it's going to be one race to watch Sneva go back through the field, try to get up there and get it Gordon Johncock, the leader.
Johnny Rutherford, here's a question that is constantly asked. Why, with just a little bit of rain, can't the cars go racing?
Well, Paul, the tires, as you know, are smooth. They have no tread, and they seem to work better with the downforce that the car generates with a smooth tire. It doesn't overheat like a treaded tire might. So when it rains or when you have any moisture on the track, the car tires are very slick against the surface, and it would be impossible to do any speed at all. So
when it rains, you've got to stop. Or when you have oil, somebody puts oil down, it just really sends a chill up your spine.
And you can't really build a rain tire for these cars.
Not on an oval. You really, it's just too much.
Let's go down to the pits now. Gary Gerald is in Gordon Johncock's pit.
Well, Paul, this is George Huning, the crew chief, who's been calling the stops. Let's first talk about the rain and what effect it has on strategy at this point with your man out there leading right now.
Well, Gary, you know, really we just kind of started this race knowing that there was rain threatening, and we were hoping, depending how the race went, that maybe we could arrange our pit stops so that at 125 laps at least, if it rained by then and we were leading the race and they had to stop it, we would be declared the winners. Right now it's drizzling a little bit, and it's about 60 laps away from that, so we're leading the race, and all we can do is keep our fingers crossed and hope everything works out all right.
In the early going, Gordy and the rest of these guys were setting a very fast pace. Was that by your design? Did you want to go out there and really charge?
Well, I think, you know, what Gordy was trying to do at first, he wanted to lean on the car hard and see exactly how it was going to react. And he did that for a few laps, and then he kind of settled back a little bit and watched the guys run in front of him for a little while. But he knew at that point that he was, you know, he was in real good shape, and hoping that when the time came, he could scoot back up to the front. So
we're watching him come down consistently on the yellows with his hands up out of the cockpit. Is he just trying to direct air down or cool his gloves off, or what's happening?
I really don't know. I was teasing him on the radio a little while ago that the fans loved it because they thought he was waving at them. But I think he's just trying to stretch his arms and make sure he doesn't get any cramps. And he said it's a little warm out there because it's so humid, but I think he's just trying to get some air down and cool off and stretch.
You indicated earlier that you had a radio conversation that he is really delighted with the way this race car is working.
Yeah, Gordy's really happy with this new car that we've got now, and you know, we're all real happy with it. It makes the mechanic's job a lot easier because the car is basically good. I mean, excellent, and the car is just fast. We can't even hardly goof it up.
Well, a lot of smiles and a lot of good feelings right now in the Pat Patrick pit with George Huning, the crew chief for Gordon Johncock. They're out in front. It's drizzling. We're on the yellow as we go back up to Paul.
Well, George Huning has been with Gordon Johncock now 11 years. They communicate very well. Went through 2 Indianapolis 500 wins with him and 1 here in the Michigan 500. Tom Sneva under the yellow comes in for a pit stop. Now, the situation is this. It is raining once again here at Michigan. Rain up in the 3rd and 4th turn. The trucks are out there. They're constantly monitoring that situation, but we cannot go to racing speed as long as there is moisture on the course. The speed has been very slow so far, 116.192 miles an hour average to 60 laps. And that's affecting our allotted time for coverage of this race. Now, it is certainly our hope that everyone all across the country is going to get to see all of the Michigan 500. That possibly may not happen, but we'll continue to cover for you, and we'll ripple across the country and hope that at the very least you on the West Coast will get to see all of the race. If you're on the East Coast, hop an airplane. But we'll continue to cover for you. Bobby Unser.
We're going to sit here and watch it no matter what, right?
I'll tell you what, you know, Tom Sneva just made a pit stop and took on tires. And with the tires he has now, he may be in the right spot to make the charge through the pack. Fresh tires, full of fuel. He's thinking this thing out. He's going.
That was a 3-tire stop, Johnny.
Yeah, it was.
So that means he was changing the stagger a little bit, adjusting it for the track changes.
Well, Gordon Johncock has certainly learned how to get attention of both the fans and television. This little technique of waving got everybody fascinated. Gary talked just a moment about that. Look at that. Now one hand, one the other. Maybe he's just drying his gloves.
I think that's it, Paul. I think he's probably a little uncomfortable, and he's got his hands out. I know I do that sometimes. I know Bobby has. Just kind of stick them up in the breeze.
There he was earlier. Had both hands off the wheel.
Right.
Johnny and I just don't wave at the ground that long. That's all.
Gordon Johncock running about 80 miles an hour when they go under the yellow, up, hands in the air. Of course, the car, that's really not a dangerous situation. Some people would say, oh, my goodness, you can't hit the car will go in a straight line.
No, it's a trick. It's a trick, Paul. You put your leg up against the steering wheel to keep the car from turning, and you can drive it with your knee and stick your hands out, and you look like a hero.
Well, with his hand in the air, there is Gordon Johncock, the leader of the Michigan 500. In second place now is Teo Fabi. Kevin Cogan is down in 3rd. John Paul Jr. has moved into 4th. And Al Unser Sr., Big Al, has moved up into 5th place. A lot of yellows, but Bobby Unser, despite all of that, despite all our worry all week long that there was going to be a high attrition rate, we started with 33. There's still 30 cars in the race.
I'm going to tell you one thing. We've seen one of the best races so far that we've seen in a long time, considering it's a 500.
Gordon Johncock out in front. We'll be back right after this.
Create a car to conquer the wind. A A car that lets you slip off the commonplace and experience driving excitement as never before. The Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Sit here and learn firsthand how Firebird conquers the wind and the world. Pontiac, we build excitement.
You can say the ballet is my life, so keeping healthy is important to me. When I'm not feeling well and I need medicine, I make sure I get the right information. When I take a non-prescription medicine, I read the label first and follow directions carefully. If it's a prescription, I make sure I understand the doctor's instructions. I have to. My good health and my career begin with me.
Buying just a home computer keyboard leaves a lot to be desired. To get a complete computer system, you also need a printer, a data recorder, and a memory expander. Introducing the Aquarius Compact from Mattel Electronics, a complete home computer system with a lot more than just a keyboard. Get the Aquarius Compact or many happy returns. Buy Aquarius Compact by September 30th. We'll send you a $300 color TV for $99.
It's Dollar Days at Kingsway. Hundreds of advertised specials and many more unadvertised values are on sale now.
You'll find fantastic savings in all departments during this exciting sale.
Many items are selling for $1, 2 for $1, and even 3 for $1.
Save on top quality name brands at a Kingsway price.
New merchandise is coming in daily, so shop now for the latest selection.
The sale is going on now.
Only during Dollar Days at Kingsway. Way to go, Kingsway.
He's got your eyes.
He's got your smile. Introducing Double Take, the portrait that captures two sides of your child's personality. Get this 8x10 Double Take with our new $12.95 collection. That also includes a traditional 8x10, 3 5x7s, and 15 wallet portraits. All for only $12.95. That's my boy.
That's my boy.
The Double Take Portrait Collection. So terrific, you'll do a double take.
Tuesday through Saturday at Kmart's in Macomb and St. Clair counties.
The Tigers continue their drive for the top tonight on Sports Final Edition.
Yeah, Gordy right away. Sneva's the guy that we're going to have to watch moving up to, Paul.
Gordon Johncock, car number 20. It's blue and red, and it comes to the line as Gordy nails the throttle, picks up the speed. A green flag in the hand of the starter, and we're off and running once again. Starting with lap number 71, Johncock leads the field down. Dale Bobby in second place, back about 50 yards from Johncock.
Boy, there is a dogfight through in there because you've got 4 guys that can go for it right back there going for second place.
Sitting back there beyond second as well as Teo in second is Kevin Kogan, car number 6. And of course, Al Sr., the senior runner on the circuit right now, is sitting back as well, all ready to close down on Gordon Johncock. That's Johncock on the left of your screen, Teo Bobby on the right. Bobby at 3 pole positions this year, including the Indianapolis 500, has not yet won an Indycar race. Tom Sneva, well down in the field now, down beyond the top 10, but beginning to thread his way back towards the front and trying to pick up the laps that he has lost as he comes up behind Vanny Ongayas. But the battle is still in the front. Teo Bobby moved down on the inside, tried to get past Johncock, but couldn't get it done.
Teo's going to find it right now. That's not the quick way. As you can see, number 6, Kevin Kogan, moved up drastically on him while he was real low like that. So I think like Bobby said a while ago, you can't run quite that low.
Kevin Kogan moves right up on top of Teo Bobby. I'll tell you one thing, though, Johnny Rutherford, Teo Bobby doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's a quick study.
He is. I've noticed that. And he's learning about this oval track racing, and he's got something that he's needed all along, and that's the respect for it.
Teo Bobby challenging with the leader once again as Bobby pulls way high. He ran Johncock low through the corners for a couple of laps, and it looks like he slundered him.
I'm telling you, it's a sign of a good race driver. Now, when you can pass Gordon Johncock like that, fade him down on the bottom and pass him on the top, you've done a hell of a job for one day.
What a terrific move. He ran him down the bottom 3 laps in a row, and then when Gordy, I assume, estimated that that's what's going to happen again, Bobby jumped high and took the lead.
Well, that is, like Bobby says, that's the mark of a good racer because he was able to pull him
down. Now Kogan comes up behind Johncock, almost center punches him, darts out and around, tries to get past him, but drops back.
Well, Well, there again, Kevin Cogan just sitting there biding his time. He had a chance to move in on Gordy and try him. It didn't work, but he's going to sit back there and wait.
So here is John Cox chasing Teo Bobby. Bobby out in front. R33, the Bandit.
Let's go.
And John Cox loses control. John Cox spinning up into the wall. He takes Cogan with him. Just suddenly, in between the third and fourth turn, John Cox spun while he was chasing Bobby. Cogan was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he took Cogan to the wall as well. So the yellow is out, 2 cars off the course, and John Cox sitting still in his car. We'll watch. Steam coming up around the car, not an indication of fire. John Cox unhooks his steering wheel. It comes off so he can climb out. I'm sure that is steam alongside the car, but John Cox is not climbing out. The defending champion, last year's Indianapolis 500 winner. Now signaling for a bit of help from the rescue crews. They are already there, just off the picture. Here comes one of the firemen. He now starts to pull the car apart, and he reaches in. Where he's reaching, there's a fire extinguisher release that will release the onboard extinguisher. Tom Sneva comes in, and Sneva apparently got involved. Look at that right front wheel and the damage to the side pod of the car. They continue to work on the rescue with Gordon John Cox.
I can assure you, looking at that, Gordy's feet must be pinned in the car. It's something that seems to happen every time when you make contact with a wall with any strength. The thing caves in, and he's pinned in and cannot get out.
Well, he's conscious. He's talking to his rescuers, but I think you're probably right, pinned in. I hope we don't have another broken ankle. Boy, that's the disease this year, isn't it?
It seems to be. You know, I had a broken ankle and an injured left foot, and it's...
Here comes the leader, Teo Bobby. Bobby comes into the pits. Now, he was out in front when this spin occurred. Cogan and John Cox into the wall. Sneva apparently also getting involved. So Bobby uses the yellow flag, comes in, Barry Green and that marvelous crew that they brought over from Can-Am Racing. Most of these guys, former crew members with Paul Newman's Can-Am team, goes to work. There's Kevin Cogan's car.
I think that was a good move.
Well.
Paul, I think that was a good move on Babby's part. They're really gambling on the rain, is what they're gambling on, as far as that pit stop so soon.
Long wait in the pits for Tom Sneva, and will they be able to repair it?
Bedard is also up there, car number 36. The black car in the fourth turn was a victim of the oil, obviously, and spun down and is out of his car.
Tom Sneva,
Tom's definitely has some front-end problems. They're replacing some parts
to work
now.
on it. Here's the accident again, Johnny Rutherford.
Yes, you can see there, Gordon suddenly lost it. I don't know whether something broke or whether he just got into something. Kevin Cogan gathers him up. They both go up, hit the wall.
Ganassi down low.
Ganassi, we have a car down at the bottom of the screen that was spinning out of the way. But there you see Kevin Cogan up against the wall. Gordy's car spewing fluids out from under it. Obviously oil from the oil radiator. The car is torn up quite badly and is sliding down.
The guys barely got past.
Oh, they barely did. It was a wonder. And, of course, the oil probably created some problems.
Let's look at it now as they make the approach. Maybe we can see the whole thing. I think it was either moisture or oil on the track.
Now, you can see there something happened in the back. There, the cars, that was a hard shot Gordon John Cox took, hitting that wall, and Kevin Cogan.
One of the weakest points on these cars is the front end, and there's been a lot of conversation about what we can do to strengthen them. Here we go again, looking at it one more time just after they come off the wall, and you can see the front end on both of these marches badly battered. John Cox slides it to a stop, and Cogan comes to a stop. Up to the wall as we analyze this accident. Again, John, I think that it's just a matter of some fluid or something there, or maybe a part, because not only this, but a couple of cars bobbled after they came through.
Yes, it's very hard to say exactly what could have happened, and of course the car hit the wall, and it's destroyed to the point we may never know.
Bobby Unser, let's look at it once again. There's Bobby. John Cox.
Oh, he lost it. Gordy lost it so quick that I just don't feel it was the race car. I feel that, excuse me, I don't feel it was just circumstances on the track. I believe that something snapped on the race car, because cars just do not spin that quick without a reason, especially cars that are handling as good as Gordy's does.
A little puff of smoke coming off of the car. See it right at the back end, and then he loses it.
Yes, obviously there's something happened on the right rear. That's the part that we can't see, and Gordy doesn't lose cars like that, and a car doesn't break away that quick if it's a good car.
He might have cut a tire down just at that instant, and
see, that's another thing. A tire can cut on this racetrack, and you can go so fast.
All right, Kevin Cogan is walking by Gordon John Cox's car while the rescuer is still working with John Cox. The yellow flag is out, 77 laps complete. Gordon John Cox being rescued at this moment.
I'd sure like another Stroh's.
Oh, wait. Alex? 2 cold Stroh's.
Where do you see this?
Just open the refrigerator. Just open one bottle. Just open the other. Now he's pouring yours. Now he's pouring mine.
Alex, you better be drinking your water.
From one beer lover to another Stroh's.
Over the past 3 years, America's become cleaner thanks to something called the Clean Community System. Changing the way people think about trash and pollution, the Clean Community System makes a city so clean, the citizens simply refuse to let it get dirty again. But though many communities are part of the system, many more aren't. If yours isn't, write for this free booklet. With the Clean Community System, our whole country can be a cleaner place to live in.
My favorite time of day is night. I love curling up with a rich cup of coffee. You think coffee and sleep don't mix? They do if it's High Point. It's decaffeinated, and the flavor's marvelous. You see, High Point has a special way of capturing flavor, deep brewed flavor. It's a coffee lover's dream.
Deep brewed flavor makes High Point the coffee lover's decaffeinated.
We're back at the Michigan 500. 78 laps are complete. We're still under caution on the race course. There is Patrick Bedard's car, number 35. Pat's out of the car and fine. He was also involved in this accident that also involved this car, Tom Sneva. Now, Gordon Johncock lost it coming off of the third turn. He immediately collected up Kevin Cogan, but debris from those cars apparently also got Bedard and got Tom Sneva. Now, Mark Bridges and his crew, a proud crew, they call themselves the Pirates, are working on the right front upright of that car. Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
They've been working on this upright for several moments now. It appears there is some damage to that right side pod behind the upright. I don't know if we can see it in this particular shot or not, but it would appear, and this is a supposition, that Sneva ran over something because of that damage back into the pod behind the upright. They're trying to replace a portion of it at this point. They've been running back and forth over the wall. Sneva's hopes, certainly, of going on to win the Triple Crown and that $1 million bonus prize have evaporated here in the last couple of minutes because the field continues to circle the track on yellow. All Sneva can do is sit here and watch his crew continue to work on the right front of his car.
Mark Bridges continues to work on the right front of the car. Replacement of a tie rod and an inspection of that right front hub carrier.
They're still trying to get Gordon Johncock out of the car. As we look there, the ambulance is backing into place. They're obviously getting very close to getting him extricated from the car and on that stretcher, so we certainly hope Gordon is not injured too badly.
And we should emphasize, too, that it used to be when you had an accident, they'd run up and they'd grab you and they'd drag you out of the car as fast as they could. And John Minnie, a race driver, has been injured not by the accident, but by the rescue.
Yes.
So now they take their time.
Yes, Paul, and we can't say enough for the crew we have working for us in championship teams now.
The cars out of the race so far. We started 33. Peter Halsmer blew his engine. Howdy Holmes was the first accident of the day. Mike Chandler blew an engine on the backstretch. Johnny Parsons Jr. retired with magneto problems. And then, of course, this accident that caused the yellow we're in now at lap 75, eliminating Gordon Johncock and Kevin Cogan. Patrick Bedard also out of the race as a result of that. And the question mark of the same accident is Tom Sneva. Will they be able to repair the car? This race a little more important to Tom than everybody else because he still has a chance at the Triple Crown of auto racing victory in the Indianapolis, the Michigan, and the Pocono 500. We'll be back with more of the Michigan 500 right after this.
The Paul Newman, Carl Haas, Budweiser racing team roars into the championship racing series. And at the wheel, Mario Andretti. They're coming your way, and they're playing to win. This Bud's for you.
You can say the ballet is my life, so keeping healthy is important to me. When I'm not feeling well and I need medicine, I make sure I get the right information. When I take a non-prescription medicine, I read the label first and follow directions carefully. If it's a prescription, I make sure I understand the doctor's instructions. I have to. My good health and my career begin with me.
Mary Beth loves to spot a bargain. In fact, she spotted that bargain dishwasher detergent this morning.
Spotted is certainly a good word for it.
Try Cascade. Most bargain brands can leave drops that spot, but Cascade's sheeting action helps prevent spots from forming. Looks like Mary Beth spotted a real bargain this time.
Mm-hmm. I went back to Cascade for good.
For virtually spotless dishes, try Cascade, because spots are no bargain.
80 laps complete at the Michigan 500. Al Unser Sr., Big Al, has picked up the lead, looking for his third straight win of the season. Pancho Carter slides into second place. The yellow out because Gordon Johncock involved in an accident while chasing the leader. And Patrick Bedard also involved in that accident. Gary Gerald has managed to find Bedard. Gary?
Well, Paul, we have Pat alongside. Can you tell us what you saw from your vantage point, how it shaped up and what happened, Pat?
The first clue I had was the yellow light, excuse me, followed by some smoke in turn 4. I eased off then, not too much so somebody doesn't run into me from behind. We got up there was cars going all over the place trying to miss debris. And so I put on the brakes pretty hard and the rears locked up and the car spun. And that way I spun around. I really had no control when it was locked up like that. I touched somebody. I think it was Sneva.
Okay, that's what we wonder. We saw damage to Sneva's car. You think that maybe there was contact between your cars?
Yeah, because as I was spinning backwards and coming around, I saw him awfully close, and I wasn't sure. I couldn't feel anything, but I noticed my car's got a front wheel that's a little wonky.
Okay, could you tell it was a case of you hitting Sneva, Sneva hitting you, or what is it in a wild situation?
Yeah, I was spinning, so
there you are.
Yeah, I mean,
tough spot to be in.
Well, you go for the brakes, and they're not supposed to lock up in the back. And I guess I just never had to apply them quite that hard before. It's,
as a motorsports columnist, this is one of those things that you probably would rather not write about, Pat.
I've been so cautious all along, really giving up positions so I wouldn't get tangled up with anybody. It feels particularly bad to go out this way because the plan was to make it very careful, very cautious, and just stay away from trouble.
Well, we're pleased to see at least you're uninjured. We want to go check on Gordon Johncock at this point.
Yeah, I hope Tom Sneva's car is not wounded. I hope Gordon's okay, too.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Gary Gerald. Johnny Rutherford.
Yeah, Pat Bedard's had a particularly harrowing weekend because the other day they poked a hole in the front of his car to get some more air in there, Paul, and the entire body sailed off of the car as he went down the straightaway. So this is the second time for him, and that's enough for anybody in one weekend.
Well, Tom Sneva on a long stop in the pits. There you get a great idea of what the underside of the car looks like, and those Venturis that create ground effects as Gordon Johncock's number 20 is up on the wrecker. That march is done for the day, if not done for a couple of weeks. Bobby?
Well, I think it's done for a little bit more than a day. I think it has a pretty serious hit.
We have a report now that it's raining over in the garage area, and the yellow flag will continue to fly. Tom Sneva climbs out of his car. They're doing a fairly major overhaul now. Billy Bignotti going to work on the side pod. There's the rain. It has visited us today. It delayed the race for several hours. A heavy thunderstorm coming through. Gordon Johncock's ambulance now going to the garage area. The report on Johncock is one that we are not to worry that there might be an injury down to the legs, but certainly nothing life-threatening. We saw that. Johncock was talking with all of the teams that came in to rescue him, but now ever so slowly, which I guess also tells us that it's probably okay, Gordon Johncock on his way back to the track hospital.
Well, that's sad for Gordy. I hope it was just something that was minor with his feet, and certainly not like Johnny ended up with a couple of broken feet, and had too much of that lately. Gordy was doing an awfully good job.
Johnny, you did break your legs at Indianapolis. We had Peter Halsmer, John Paul. They're going to have to do something to the front of these cars.
Yes, they are, Paul. And it's something that's being discussed quite regularly now. They want...
Johnny, let me interrupt you as they unload the ambulance. Let's go down to Bruce Jenner.
Well, right now, they're getting everybody out of the ambulance. Kevin Cogan, under his own power, coming out. Gordy's got his hands behind his head and giving us a signal that he's okay. A smile on his face. He gave us an okay sign, so he must not be in too much pain at this point, but they're going to bring him in, and they're going to check him out inside the hospital. And here's Kevin Colgan coming over to us. 1 minute. We'll move the fence out here, and we'll get a word with Kevin and find out what happened. Kevin? Did we talk to you for 1 second? What happened out there?
Well, I think something looked like something broke on Gordy's car because the thing was just sideways before he could do anything about it. He didn't even correct or anything. It just happened like a very snap thing. And I just really didn't have the time or the distance to get away from him. He just was right in front of me, and I couldn't get out of the way.
So we look at it on the replay. There was just absolutely nowhere you could go. But up to that point, you were driving so well. It's the best I've seen Kevin Colgan out there.
Well, you know, we did a tire change, and the car wasn't quite as good as I was hoping. And when the restart went, it was a little bit better, and I thought maybe I might even be able to, you know, sneak my way into the lead. Everything was handling great. It was fantastic.
What did Gordy say in the ambulance?
He just wanted to know if it was broke or not. He kept wanting to know if it was broke.
And nobody knew at this point, but they're in there checking on him right now.
I think he broke his leg, yeah. Just probably a minor fracture, as the doctor said.
All right, well, thank you for that. And too bad you're out of there. It's a disappointing day, but you're driving well. You'll be in there yet.
Thanks.
Let's go back up to Paul.
Thank you, Bruce. Kevin Colgan, wrong place, wrong time. And he's suggesting that maybe Gordy is joining that club of guys with broken ankles. I certainly hope not. And, of course, Kevin is not a doctor. But Gordy, look at the showman. As he comes out of the ambulance, big I'm okay sign. He's really picked up a lot of showmanship in the past few years. Let's go down to Tom Sneva's pit. Gary Gerald is there. Gary?
Well, Tom is now out of the car, obviously, Paul. They continue to work over there. We understand it's the lower wishbone on that right front suspension unit. Tom, we've seen it on replay a couple of times now. Can you go back and put together what you saw develop in front of you?
Well, you know, I saw Gordy get sideways, so I could foresee the yellow coming. The yellow was out probably 10 seconds. I'm just slowing down, trying to get out all the crud out there, and we got drivers that look 2 inches in front of their race car and don't see the yellow until it's too late, drive right in the middle of an accident, and, you know, we got guys out there that should be writing articles instead of racing cars, and I don't know, I just can't understand how we let people do that.
Well, you made contact then with another car. It wasn't a matter of running over debris, if I interpret what you're saying.
No, the guy behind me didn't see it, spun out, and drove into the side of me.
All right, we had a conversation with Pat Bedard. He indicated that there was contact. He didn't know how it developed. He said he was spinning, and he thought it was your car.
Well, yeah, it was my car, and, you know, I can believe he doesn't know what's happening out there because he wasn't looking 2 inches in front of his race car when the race was going on.
Well, the crew continues to work. Is there a design now to get you back in this race, even though you've been in the pits for some time?
Well, we just got to have some help from some rain, and if we get that, maybe, you know, we can get back in, but, you know, they got a long ways to go.
You know, the visions of the Triple Crown went swinging away several minutes ago, I'm afraid, and I'm sure that was one of the thoughts that had to cross your mind.
Well, I don't know. You know, it's a race, but, you know, we got guys out there that shouldn't be out there, and a bunch of driver errors are causing all these problems.
Appreciate your time, Tom. Tom Sneva, obviously very disgruntled, unhappy.
Well, some harsh words from the Indianapolis champion, Tom Sneva. Normally, you wouldn't continue to work on that car, I don't think, Bobby, but with the Triple Crown and the $1 million at stake, Mark Bridges and crew really have to stay in it.
They're wiped out, Paul. They're through. What they're really hoping for is that they work on the car, do the best they can, and they'll rerun the race tomorrow or next weekend and possibly come back stronger then by the fact of a lot of cars dropping out of the race if it goes 500 miles.
Johnny?
Well, that's a good point, you know, and you've got to be ready to go all the time, and that's why these guys are pushing for it down there. They want to get that car back up because, like Tom said, the rain might come, and it gives them a chance to work on it, although 5 laps is a lot to make up.
Al Sr. still leading the race. Let's go back to Bruce Jenner.
I'm with Steve Olvey right now, the chief doctor here, and you just had a chance to look at Gordy. How does he look?
Bruce, he's in real good spirits. He's awake and alert. Was never unconscious. The only injury is an apparent fracture of his right ankle. He'll have to go to Jackson, Michigan for x-rays to know for sure, but it looks like it's broken.
But his spirits are high. That's good.
Yeah, he's in good shape otherwise.
All right, Paul?
Dr. Steve Olvey, one of the 2 regular cart doctors. He's the senior man. Dave Crippen, also one of the cart doctors, one stationed on a truck at either end of the race course for just such an emergency. And Gordon Johncock, by my count, becomes the 4th broken ankle of this season in the Indycars.
4th or 5th, and, you know, we were talking about that earlier and didn't get to finish the conversation, Paul. The cars, the designers are looking at something new to put down there to give them a little more strength so that the driver does have a chance when he hits the wall like that. There's not much that will withstand an impact like that, but we're trying to figure out a way that it will deform so that it doesn't take the load to the driver's feet.
there's your leader, the Hertz Penske. Al Unser, car number 7, going for his 3rd win in a row this season. Michigan 500 is under yellow. Let's go back to 30 Rock.
And as we await the green flag once again, Len Berman along with Mike Adamle back in our New York studios. Let's bring you up to date on the baseball scores around the country today. We have lots of finals in the American League, starting at Yankee Stadium, where the Yankees knocked off the Texas Rangers for the 3rd straight day. 8-6 the final. Rick Cerrone, a couple of key RBIs, including a bunt on a pitch out to score a run. A big Fenway typical game up there. Oakland beating Boston, final of 13-9. Baltimore moves within 2 games of Toronto. 11-1 over the California Angels. Lots of hitting today around the American League. Kansas City, 7-2 over Cleveland, so the Royals moved just 2.5 games back of Texas, who lost today. Chicago knocked off red-hot Toronto. Final there of 3-2. Chicago, just 1.5 game out of first now. In fact, 4 teams within 2.5 games in the American League West. A final now. Milwaukee has made it 6 straight wins, 10-6 over Minnesota. Milwaukee now 4.5 games out. Cecil Cooper, a pair of home runs for the Brewers today. And they're playing the bottom of the 4th in Seattle. The Tigers, who have been hot, leading the Mariners 1-0. Mike?
Len, in the National League, they played home run derby in Philadelphia's Veterans Stadium. The Cincinnati Reds won 5-2. They got a 3-run pinch hit homer from Johnny Bench in the 7th inning. That was erased a 2-1 deficit. Phillies also had home runs by Bo Diaz, his 9th, and Mike Schmidt, his 18th of this season. The winning pitcher, Frank Pastore, he is now 4-8. The Expos broke a 6-game losing streak as they beat the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta 3-1 that game. Andre Dawson had a home run, his 19th of the season. The Cubs lead the Dodgers 5-0 at the top of the 5th. Pirates and the San Diego Padres are tied 3-3. That game is in the top of the 6th. And in San Francisco's Candlestick Park, the San Francisco Giants lead the St. Louis Cardinals 2-1. That game is in the bottom of the 6th as well. Okay, we'll be returning for more of the CART Michigan 500 right after these commercial messages. Stay with us.
Tuesday on the 18th, some whips think they can make me fight my friend to the death. Big mistake. Join the 18th.
Then only Remington Steele could follow the A-team. But can he infiltrate the inner sanctum of punk rock?
Use name. You got it all. Tuesday.
It's Dollar Days at Kingsway. Hundreds of advertised specials and many more unadvertised values are on sale now.
You'll find fantastic savings in all departments during this exciting sale.
Many items are selling for $1, 2 for $1, and even 3 for $1.
Save on top quality name brands at a Kingsway price.
New merchandise is coming in daily, so shop now for the latest selection.
The sale is going on now.
Only during Dollar Days at Kingsway. Way to go, Kingsway.
Attention furniture shoppers. In a desperate attempt to outride the recession, Robinson Furniture dares to make this unbelievable offer. Pay one price, get double the furniture at Robinson's Double Your Dollar sale. Spend $500, get another $500 worth absolutely free. That's right, free. Spend any amount, get twice the furniture. Double your money on living room, bedroom, and dining room furniture. Don't wait. Double your buying power through Monday only at Robinson Furniture on 8 Mile DeQuinder. Call 368-6933. Hurry in.
Here, have a drink.
Yeah, come on.
Hey, buddy! Hey, have a beer!
Some people think drinking is really the thing to do. It's not. Because if you start now, you're headed for big trouble later. If your idea of a good time is drinking, you've got a problem already. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
Go for it. WDIV Detroit.
With Johnny Rutherford and Bobby Unser, 6 Indianapolis victories between them. And, of course, Bruce Jenner and Gary Gerald covering for us in the pits. It's the Michigan 500, 250 laps, 89 are complete. We are under the yellow flag. Now, the leaders have been shuffling about during this yellow flag as they come in for pit stops and then return to the slow space behind the pace car. At the moment, it is car number 91, Don Whittington, who leads the race, and Bobby Rahal, who dropped a lap behind the race, has benefited from this long yellow, managed to move up and pick up second place. And Rick Mears, who is quite a story in his own right, their car completely torn down overnight, was really not performing well at all. Rick was very disappointed about it last night, now is moving up and running in third place. Teo Fabi in fourth, John Paul Jr. sitting in fifth position.
Well, you know, a race of 500 miles like this, Paul, anything can happen, so it bears watching any of those guys. There you have Rick Mears in the Pennzoil Penske out on the track, and he is starting to make his move, so the car must be responding to what they've done to it.
Or the race is falling back toward him.
Could well be. Could well be.
Still a way to win a race. Now, Teo Fabi, now in fourth place. They indicated, the officials told us, that Fabi ran over an air hose on one of his pit stops. You can't do that. That's a violation of the rules. We watch Rick Mears, who is staying on the course, is Don Whittington, who was our leader, headed down in the pit. So another little shuffle in the lead. We are still under the yellow. So it's just a rolling at the top of the field. Don Whittington, car number 91. Teo Fabi will receive a penalty when they go back to the green flag because he ran over that hose. Here's Don Whittington. Don Whittington is really a new Indy driver in the past few years, and we ask him about the lack of time that he has had to test his Indy car.
The testing doesn't necessarily make you go faster. In fact, sometimes it'll make you slow down because you'll try too many things and lose your baseline, but it does make the car more dependable, and that's what we hope to do, you know, more of next year.
Well, Don Whittington moves back to the race course, and as we continue to watch the standings, that'll put Bobby Rahal now, they say, in second place, and Rick Mears are in first place, and Rick Mears in the second. Don Whittington testing. He says you don't need time, Johnny Rutherford. Everybody else says you got to test all the time.
Well, if you went by him, then you would have to, because he doesn't test a lot. But the guy goes out there, as we said earlier in the show, he's taken 3 race cars and made 1. So there's something to that, and the fact that he made the 1 race car out of 3 and didn't have to test it a lot, and he's one of our leaders perennially.
Bobby, when you were active, you tested more miles than I think any other man in the circuit. You're a believer in it.
Yes, I do. But I think testing means that you have to do things. You have to try things, not just run miles. You see, so many teams just physically run miles when they call it testing. The guy that really does good, Paul, is the guy that tries new parts, tries different concepts, different ideas.
Another point to be made, if you own a March, you own a customer car. We already covered that. And what that really means is that as everybody tests, you're going to benefit from what everybody else learns.
That's true. That's true. I did a test in the March car in December at the Speedway, and we learned quite a few little things that seemed to make it go a little quicker, and I'm sure every car that Robin Hurd from March sold after that had those little tweaks.
And Bobby and I will not mention that car.
Remember another thing now. I'll bet you Johnny didn't tell him everything that he was driving, right?
Well, yeah. I'm not like you, Bobby. I told him.
All right. I got to separate the two of you. We're under the yellow at the Michigan International Speedway, a 500-mile race. 91 laps, 182 miles are complete. Bobby Rahal is out in front. He won twice last year in his freshman year on the circuit. One of those victories came here on this oval in the fall race here, a shorter distance than 500 miles. There he is out in front. Rick Mears in second, still very slow under the yellow. Here's the PPG point standings in their World Series of Auto Racing. Al Unser leads with 73 points. Of course, there are some points in contest because Tom Sneva was the winner at Milwaukee, and then he was disqualified. Now, there's an appeal on that disqualification, so these points may change some. Down through the top 10, Al Unser Jr., John Paul Jr. in 11th, Jeff Brabham, Mario Andretti not having his best of years, sitting well down in the standings. Al Unser, the man to beat in that battle for series points here in championship auto racing teams. Yellow flag is still out on what has become another long day at Michigan.
Al Unser leading the points. You know, that's where Al comes into his own. He's very methodical. He's very precise. He does well, and when he starts winning, he usually keeps on winning. And so I'm sure that Roger Penske is quite happy with the fact that they've won 2 races now, and this looks like they might even pull out their 3rd one if he finishes and we get the race all in.
Still ever so slowly around the course. 92 laps complete. Our average speed way down, 104.113 miles an hour. Very, very slow day, but a lot of lead changes. We've had 18 lead changes in this race so far. Bobby Rahal. This is what the rest of the season looks like. Of course, you'll see coverage right here on NBC of the Pocono 500, that third jewel in the Triple Crown of auto racing. And we'll be back, of course, for the October 29th Phoenix 150. A marvelous schedule of racing for championship auto racing teams this year. If they're in your area, certainly something that you will want to see. Still, the yellow flag is out. The cleanup in the fourth turn as a result of John Cox's accident is just about done now, though still a lot of oil dry up on the course. That accident really took out 4 cars. John Cox had something break on board. You saw that in the several replays that we were able to furnish. And then he collected up Kevin Cogan, who headed to the wall. And then right after that, Pat Bedard spinning ran into Tom Sneva, Johnny Rutherford. Tom Bigelow.
Yes, Tom Bigelow. You know, he had trouble early in the race, spraying oil, and they thought it might have been an engine. And now...
Don Whittington back in, changing a left rear tire. They obviously had the stagger wrong before, Paul. They're just changing a left rear tire now is all they're changing.
Talk about stagger. That's a difference in the size of the tires.
Yes, the stagger means that it's a minute amount, too. They measure it in tenths of inches. So it's really a very small amount, but it makes a big difference because the rear ends are really, one wheel drives just as fast as the other wheel does, which means that the stagger is going to be a very important thing.
Don Whittington still under the yellow and back into competition. The pace car now advancing the field as Don Whittington comes in, and it looks like we'll be coming to the green flag with Bobby Rahal out in front of the field. Don Whittington, by nature of that pit stop, has lost some time. He comes back to speed as the pace car comes by, and Rick Mears pulls up to challenge Rahal, and as they come to the green flag, Mears powers his way past Rahal. So Rick Mears out in front of the race. The car totally rebuilt by Peter Parrott and the crew last night, and here it is out in front of the race.
Well, obviously it's working, Paul, because he didn't waste any time going by Rahal, taking the lead, and he's not giving it up down the backstretch.
Rick Mears, car number 1, the defending national champion. Bobby Rahal right behind him, closing in. Let's go down to Bruce Jenner.
Gordy, I apologize for having an interview on a very difficult situation, but there's just a lot of people out there who want to know how you're doing. How are you?
Well, everything's fine. It's just, I think it's my right ankle and my left leg a little bit, but don't worry, we're going to be back.
All right. Do you have any idea what happened with the car?
Something broke on the car, definitely, because I'm just going into the corner into number 3, and it just swapped ends and spun, so I don't know, something broke on the car.
All right, off to the hospital. Hope the x-rays work out fine. Good luck to you.
Gordon Johncock, what a gentleman to spend that time with us. There's Teo Bobby in and out of the pits. Now, we told you he was going to receive a penalty because he ran over his hose. They wait until the green flag to assess the penalty. They brought him into the pits, they stopped him, and he's moving back up to speed. Rick Mears still leading Bobby Rahal at the front of the course. Gordon Johncock ready to make that trip into Jackson, Michigan to the Foot Hospital. That's the name of the hospital, not what they treat. And it looks like another right ankle batter.
I feel for him, I tell you, Paul, because that's not any trip to Paris.
Gordon Johncock loads into the ambulance while Rick Mears leads the 500. Bobby Rahal comes alongside. Here's a challenge for the lead. Rahal down low. Can he hold it there? Rick handling high. Rahal holds it for the moment. Rick still up high. They come off the corner. Rick drops back a bit. Rahal still out in front. His engine just a little stronger. A little better entry to the turn. Flashes over the start-finish line. Still a drag race going into one.
Boy, they are really going in. And, of course, Rick had the perfect line there. He was able to come down on the bottom and then kind of let the momentum carrying him up past Rahal. Rahal looks like he's a little stronger down the straightaway. There he is, pulling back up, making a challenge, going back by Mears. What a dogfight.
Rahal tries Mears on the inside on the approach to the third turn. Now the 21st lead change of the race as Bobby Rahal comes back into the ring. A March and a Penske doing battle on the course. The March out in front at the moment. Bobby Rahal at the wheel. A PC-11 right behind. Rick Mears, the pilot.
Paul, the reason for the big charge right now, obviously, is possible rain. Just remember, the people should understand that if it rains, where you are after the halfway point is going to be the decision point, if it rains it out. Now, these guys are gambling that it's going to rain, and they are charging hard right now.
Going just as fast as they can. The scheduled distance, 500 miles, 250 laps, but once 126 laps have been run. race could be called if it rains.
We've got 3 cars. Ray Hall, Rick Mears, and Al Jr.
Here's Big Al. Big Al, as he's chasing Chip Ganassi. Al has dropped back to 6th place. He was up at the lead at the start of that yellow flag, and Tom Bigelow, out of the race, pulls to a stop. He waves to the safety crews and says everything's fine. So Bobby Rahal leads. Tom Bigelow falls out. Al Unser tries to move up from 6th place. We'll be back with more of the Michigan 500.
Create a car to conquer the wind. A car that lets you slip off the commonplace and experience driving excitement as never before. The Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Sit here and learn firsthand how Firebird conquers the wind and the world. Pontiac, we build excitement.
In these hands, medicine. To young eyes, a wonderland. To young hands, poison. If you have curious little hands in your home, ask your druggist for child-resistant safety packaging and be sure to use it properly. For the life of a child, can't you live with a little inconvenience? For further information, write Poison Prevention, Washington, D.C. 20207.
America takes on the world at the most important international competition of 1983. Our exclusive network coverage begins August 6th with a broadcast schedule equal to the greatness of this event. For the first time ever, from Helsinki, Finland, they're going for the gold. The World Championships of Track and Field on NBC.
This is Paul Page with Bobby Unser, Johnny Rutherford, Bruce Jenner, and Gary Gerald. We're back at the Michigan 500. Here is Al Unser Sr., car number 7, as he heads toward the line, currently running in 6th place. Al Sr. out on the race course, running just as fast as he can. We asked Al Jr., the youngest driver today, about Al Sr. and his son's development in racing.
His development is very rapid and very, very, very good. You know, 5 years ago, somebody had asked me if he'd be doing what he's doing today. I would say no. It takes too long to develop. And here he's done it in a very, very short time. So it makes me very proud and happy. And I often wonder why I didn't develop that quick.
Well, he developed quick enough as Big Al is running just as hard as he can. There's the 17 car of Little Al. Bobby, you got to be proud of him, too. He's a nephew.
Yeah.
Doing a terrific job.
He just went by Rick Mears, and I don't pick any favorites, but I'd have to say that he is my nephew, and I'm happy to see Fast Rick. And he's done a good job today, honestly.
Blood is thicker than water.
It is. It really is thicker than water.
We're back at the front of the race now. Here is Bobby Rahal, the Red Roof Inns March. Car number 2. Won here on this oval last fall. Has 2 races to his credit in the Indycar racing. Jim Truman, the car owner, and the crew do a marvelous job of preparation, and it's paying off for them today. Bobby Rahal, the current leader of the race.
Bobby Rahal is certainly learning the trade well. He's had some problems this year and some disappointments, Paul, but he's doing exceptionally well right now, and it's to be expected. He's a fine race driver.
Bobby Rahal out in front. 2nd place is Little Al in car number 17, Al Unser Jr. Pan Am champion. Marvelous racing driver. Seems to go fast and no matter what he drives. Take a look now at the relationship. 1st, 2nd, 3rd place as the 3 cars come through. There's 2nd place. Little Al, and here comes Rick Mears in car number 1. So the battle is still up at the front in a smooth race here in the Michigan 500.
Well, it is. It's a good battle. And the battle, Paul, is really because everybody's thinking it may rain because we've got clouds all around us. But so far, right here, the weather is beautiful. It's cool, quite the opposite of what we expected, and the cars are a lot faster than we expected.
Well, when they have the green flag, they get a wonderfully smooth run, but we've been interrupted by yellow, one of those for rain. Rain, of course, delayed the start of the race 2 hours, and everybody is watching the clock and watching the end of the day, including us. 6:30, we may just run out of time in coverage of this, the Michigan 500. We'll let you know.
People that miss it are going to miss a good race, Paul. I feel sorry for him.
We watch the leader, Bobby Rahal, comes across the line. Look at the interval. Little Al comes across. And we'll get the lap time now. 36 seconds here is 200 miles an hour. They shouldn't be running quite that fast because of the fuel load and the race setup. But Rahal is just flying around this course. They've turned this 500-miler, Johnny Rutherford, into a sprint race.
Yes, they have, Paul. And you know, initially when they asked us what we thought of a 500-miler at Michigan International Speedway, boy, we all said, forget it. That's just going to be too far and too long and too hard. But it's turned into one of the top races, the premier races on the circuit. And we all enjoy running here. And you have to gear yourself mentally to handle the 500 miles at this place.
Bobby Rahal turned that lap 37 and 4/10 seconds, 192.5 miles an hour. Came up behind Teo Bobby at the same time. Bobby is out of the top 10 as a result of that penalty that they assessed to him. How's this car doing from the pit crew's point of view? Let's go to Rahal's pits and Bruce Jenner.
I'm with Jim Truman, the car owner of Bobby Rahal. And Jim, you took a gamble at the beginning. You stayed out under the yellow. You had to pit under the green, went a lap down, but now you're back on the lead running very strong.
Well, we took a gamble on the yellow being shorter. It actually hurt us momentarily, but when the next yellow occurred, we got the lap back, and as you can see, by waiting, it actually helped us eventually to get back to the lead. Right now, we're hoping for a yellow.
You're going to be pitting here in just a couple of laps.
It looks like we're going to have to pit under the green. Then I hope it stays green. That puts everybody in the same boat.
All right, let's go back up to Paul.
So we anticipate a pit stop for Bobby Rahal as he leads the race. Little Al is in second, Rick Mears in third. The average speed just over 105 miles an hour. We'll be back with more of the Michigan 500.
I'd sure like another Stroh's.
Oh, wait. Alex? 2 cold Stroh's.
Where do you see this?
Just open the refrigerator. Just open one bottle. Just open the other. Now he's pouring yours. Now he's pouring mine.
Alex, you better be drinking your water.
From one beer lover to another Stroh's.
Keeping the Gulf of Mexico safe and pollution-free is a big job. A job for Coast Guard-trained professionals like machinery technician John Paulus.
Buoys we maintain help keep these waterways safe.
And machinery technician Roy McCall.
Rebuilding this engine is a big job, but it just may help save lives.
Maybe there's a job skill you can learn in the Coast Guard. To find out, call our toll-free number.
America takes on the world at the most important international competition of 1983. Our exclusive network coverage begins August 6th with a broadcast schedule equal to the greatness of this event. For the first time ever, from Helsinki, Finland, they're going for the gold. The World Championships of Track and Field on NBC.
We're back at the Michigan 500. The yellow flag is out again. Again, the report, debris on the race course. The yellow came out. And an interesting situation developed. Bobby Rahal was the leader at the time and headed down into the pits. And Bobby Unser, as we look at this again, little Al should have come into the pits with him, shouldn't he?
Well, in my opinion, he should have, Paul. I don't know why the team made that decision. I guess I'll wonder about that maybe for another 100 years. But with the rain, with everything like it is today, when Rahal pitted, you know the old story, when the leader pits, if you're in competition, you pit. I don't care unless he's got a problem. Now, little Al, in my opinion, should have pitted, and I don't know why they didn't.
Little Al is staying out in front. He'll appear at the top of the leaderboard as a result. We were just saying what a wonderful guy he is, Johnny. What terrific track savvy he has, and then he does that.
Well, that doesn't make him any less wonderful a guy, I don't think, Paul. But it certainly wasn't a very good move because he should have followed Rahal right into the pits. The crew is at fault for that probably because they didn't call him in. He's just out there doing his job and is waiting for them to tell him when to come in. and maybe this is an indication that the crew doesn't really know that he should have been in with him.
The only thing that can really save him now, Johnny, is another yellow. And, of course, if he gets it before his fuel stop is due, then he'll still be all right. So,
well, you know, Little Al was involved in a lot of controversy at the Indy 500. The word blocking came up quite a bit with Al Unser Jr.'s drive. We asked him what he'd do if that situation arose again.
I didn't do anything wrong at the Speedway. You know, I tried to help my father win the race, and I didn't in any way block Sneva. I didn't create a danger situation on the racetrack. I was racing as hard at the end as I had been doing all day long. You know, I was trying to help Dad win it, and if I could, I was going to. And if the same situation shows up here, you're dang right I'm going to do the same thing.
Okay, we've got two grand champions here, Bobby Unser and Johnny Rutherford. You've heard what Al Unser Jr. said about that run at Indianapolis.
Well,
the rule says that the overtaking car has to get past. Bobby, you're first.
well, in the first place, Little Al really wasn't blocking. They used the term, you see, because of his lack of experience, he used the word blocking. He wasn't blocking Sneva. Sneva didn't even know that Al had been in his way until he'd heard it on television or via the press. So it all got started. It's like a little spark that starts a forest fire. There was really nothing in the beginning. I think Little Al's learned a lesson from it, and he's been picked on very badly for doing nothing, really.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Paul. I think he was unjustly accused of something there that was just something that happened out of circumstance.
So there you have it. 6 Indianapolis wins, talking about one young man and what he did in the race, Al Unser Jr. The word blocking, not really appropriate in that
Paul, all he
situation.
was really trying to do was mess up the air for Tom. He wasn't really blocking him, but he meant it is that he was disturbing the air, and he used the term blocking, so the press picked it up. But gosh, when you look at the television reruns of it, it shows that he was way ahead of Sneva. And when Sneva wanted to pass him, he just went ahead and passed him. There was no problem to it.
All right, let's check in the situation down in the pits once again. Here's Gary Gerald. Gary?
Well, we're in Mario Andretti's pit. Carl Haas, the owner of this team. And Carl, it's been a real thrash this week. A brand new Lola. Team's worked hard. It looks like it's starting to pay off at this point.
Well, I think we're about to go green, but really Paul Newman and I own it together. We were going good at the beginning. We had a flat tire on the rear, and that put us back a little bit, and we can't quite get the tire balance quite right, but we're hanging in there, so we'll see what happens.
Well, the way things are going at this rate, if you can keep hanging, that may be a great spot to be in.
Well, it might be. It's a long race.
All right, we're going green. Let's go back upstairs.
As we watch Mario Andretti in car number 3, they pick the speed up. The pace car comes off the course. It is Al Jr., Little Al, that will lead the field down to the line once again in his car number 17. That car is an Eagle, performing very, very well as he acknowledges that he's coming back to speed now. The green light winks on, and once again, we are racing at lap 115 in the Michigan 500. So Little Al out in front, 4 cars abreast coming through right behind him as Ray Hall and Freddie come down on the inside. They're battling with one another. Dick Ferguson up on the high side, and quite a show as they head off through the first turn, but Little Al just disappears.
Boy, he is doing a wonderful job. We'll have to see how the pit stop situation comes into it. There's your race for second. Ray Hall, Andretti figuring up front for the first time or the second time this season. He was doing well at Cleveland, but he's hanging in there, and I'm sure that's quite a thrill for Paul Newman and Carl Haas.
Out in front, Little Al leading in the Michigan 500. He has not yet won an Indycar race.
Boy, you can't say
Big
he doesn't know how to turn a race, though.
Moved up into 5th place in the standings as well. So the Unser family doing a pretty good job.
Yes, they are. In fact, Big Al is just moving up. For a moment there, he was just right behind Rick Mears. It's going to be a heck of a battle right there in the back. Al is way in the lead, but the rest of it really is a tight battle.
There's that battle for second as Andretti, his car now working, comes inside Ray Hall, and Andretti goes right past Ray Hall, Johnny.
That is something. Mario has finally obviously got the tire balance right, and he's makes the right move. He's in second place, and Ray Hall now will have to work on him.
Well, we've got to admit, we've been very disappointed the late start of the race for the lead we've had, but boy, when they're racing very well.
Well, the big race right at the moment is Fabby, Rick Mears, and Al Sr. and Don Whittington coming up right behind. They are having a fierce battle right now.
There's Big Al, Fabby down on the low side as they continue to chop at one another down the backstretch. Look at this.
They've
Here
been
comes
going
Whittington.
side by side. They've been going side by side every lap.
Don Whittington comes in, picks up a position on Fabi, so they're chopping at one another constantly. Again, everybody trying to decide how fast and how far they can run. They're thinking that maybe they won't complete 500 miles here in the Michigan 500.
Now there's Big Al going right by Rick Mears. Now he's starting to work again. He must have got his car fixed during this last pit stop, Paul.
Little Al Jr. is out in front of the Michigan 500. Unfortunately, while he pursues the lead, we pursue the clock. Time running out of our coverage of the Michigan 500. Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, and I, Bruce Jenner, Gary Gerald will continue to cover this race. We'll try and report you on NBC throughout the evening, but we have lost our time of covering this race here at the Michigan 500. We'll give you a flashcaster throughout the evening, and of course, we'll update you next week on NBC Sports World. So for Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, Bruce Jenner, and Gary Gerald, this is Paul Page. Sadly, as we leave you from the Michigan 500.
Team roars into the championship racing series. And at the wheel, Mario Andretti. They're coming your way, and they're playing to...
Behind him, Mears looking for his first victory in the kart PPG series for John Paul Jr. It was only his second time racing on a high-banked oval track. Watch him make the move right here and pass Rick Mears with only about half a mile to go, going down inside low, almost off the track right there. But that is the move that won him the race. But then watch what happens. His incredible draft and effect on Mears' car. He spins out, hits the wall almost directly, and then Chris Neifels hits Mears from behind. As this was happening, John Paul Jr. was winning his first Indy-type car race. Now here's a slow-motion look at Paul's move. He uses the draft of both Neifels and Mears to dip down low and past both. As he forged his way past, he creates an unusual amount of turbulent air, obviously, and Mears loses some of his aerodynamics. That is what caused him to start the spin. But then he does a pretty good job of driving his car as he starts the spin there and maneuvering his car so it doesn't crash into the wall head on. Still pretty severe, though, as you see it right here. He loses a wing and a nose, and then from behind gets clobbered by Chris Neifels. Luckily, neither seriously injured. A terrific finish. We apologize for not being able to show you this last week. Glad we could show it to you now. John Paul Jr., who survived a bad crash at Indy